The Louie Tee Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to the Command Post Game Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie Tee.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes.
My bad. Let me start off the show real quick.
New Howell order.
One time for the one time.
Howell order.
Two times because my man is prime.
Order.
Three.
Howell.
That's just who we beat. All right, let's get the show started. I told y'all I'm outside for Sam, man. For the rest of this operation, I can't vouch for it. But I know what I know. And I know we got one, right? I told you that we weren't going to win this game because this defense wasn't going to be able to get it done. And we didn't win this game. Why? Because the defense wasn't able to get it done. The offense, look, it wasn't a great situation for most of the game, I'll say. I mean, outside of the explosives early or the two explosive Brian Robinson catch and runs, in between that, there was nothing offensively. And for that, you got to look at the offense and say, hey, you didn't do your part for 60 minutes. But once they got into a rhythm late and they started to move the football, they couldn't get a stop defensively. And that's the truth of the matter, okay? I predicted 30-24. I got 29-26. So I was close. Kind of knew how this game would go. I knew it would be a back and forth affair. I knew we would hang in there. It was a tough environment. Had we won this game, I would have been impressed because that was everything that I thought it was going to be from an environment standpoint, from, you know, things happening and having to adjust, Sam fumbling the football, Emmanuel Forbes getting thrown out of the game, the pressure. The Seahawks quietly have a really solid pass rush, okay? And this was the first game, especially in the first half, that I thought Sam recognized the pressure. But you know what I also was really proud of? He got it out of his hands. He checked it down to the backs. He didn't take sacks in the first half for the most part. He did an excellent job of recognizing pressure. And sometimes I felt like he was a little sped up, but that's to be expected on the road, hostile environment, with that situation being what it was going to be. I expected his clock. Remember, EB said everything feels a little bit more rushed when you're on the road in that kind of environment. And that's what Sam was performing like. The clock seemed to be going off just a split second sooner, but I had no problems with that, okay? I thought he dealt with the pressure really well. I thought he got out of the pocket, extended plays. Guys didn't always help him. Crowder with a drop on the last drive. It ultimately ended up being inconsequential because Sam still made plays, which is what he does. Who didn't think that we weren't going to go down and score? I was thinking, like I always am, are we going to go for two? Because I would have gone for two. And to me, you play it differently if you're up one versus tied, right? So I personally think had we been winning 27-26, I think we win this game because it's a different type of game pressure on the opposition when they're trailing versus it's tied, right? It's a different type of game pressure. So I think personally we would have won the game, but you still got to blame Joey Sly for missing the extra point at the very beginning of the game because you put us in that position. But if I'm Ronald, I'm going for two there. Again, he hasn't learned his lesson. You're on the road. It's a hostile environment. You haven't gotten a stop in 16 years, and you want to go to overtime? For what? What are we trying to go to overtime for? I'm confused. Anyway, it doesn't make a difference. They still went down and got the game-winning field goal. So, and a lot of you will say, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter. They got the field." I think it does matter. It changes how Seattle plays. Game pressure is different. Up one versus tied, we're going to overtime. Almost like playing with house money, so to speak. Right? If we don't get it done, we got overtime. Whereas if we don't get it done, we lose the game. Now you're a little tighter. Shit changes a little bit. Play calls change a little bit. Anyway, at the end of the day, Sam played his ass off again, which it's getting old at this point. This is what I've come to expect. In those situations, I expect my guy to deliver. And the only game he didn't deliver in those situations was the Giants game. And you could argue that Jahan Dotson dropped the football. Was it a great throw? No. He still should have caught the damn ball. My guy delivers in those types of situations. I know what we've got. There's still some out there that don't understand what a franchise quarterback looks like. They're always chasing something else. Ain't no need to leave. You got everything you need right here at home. Why are you out here looking? I don't understand, right? I'm about to say something to you guys that I think a lot of you in the back of your mind subconsciously understand, but you haven't actually brought it to the forefront of your mind and made it a thing. But when I say it, I think you're going to be like, damn, you're right. Maybe not. Maybe you're going to tell me I'm crazy. Defensively, we don't have any talent. Now, let that sink in for a bit. And trading Montez Sweat and Chase Young changes a lot. And you're saying to yourself, just those two guys alone make that big of a difference? Listen to what I'm about to explain to you. The defensive line, albeit not great, was good with Montez Sweat and Chase Young. They changed things. We laugh a lot at pressures, not getting to the quarterback, but those pressures change things. They do. All right? And sometimes pressures clean up deficiencies on the back end, i.e. Percy Butler not being able to tackle. Like, that's a real thing. Because that 48-yard field goal that he just kicked to win the game, or however long it was, that should have been a 55-yard field goal if Percy Butler just makes a damn tackle. But Percy Butler missed the tackle on the touchdown catch and run from the running back, Kenneth Walker III. This is the second week in a row where he's missed a tackle and somebody's taken off, a running back's taken off for a touchdown. He can't tackle. But when you get pressure on the quarterback, even if you don't get home, when you get pressure, you clean up deficiencies on the back end. We don't have any depth in the secondary, and then you lose Emmanuel Forbes, which I thought was just gross, throwing him out of the game. But I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. I told the mob, I said, y'all better hope he doesn't get thrown out. They were all debating on whether it's a penalty. That's a penalty, okay? Nobody should be debating that. It was a penalty. Should he have been thrown out? No, he shouldn't have been. But I said, the way the league is trending right now, they're going to throw him out of this game. And I was shocked when they didn't initially throw him out. And then 2 seconds later, the official gets back on the mic and says, oh, yeah, 13's out of here. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. The pass interference on that fourth down, that's pass interference. He finally got caught. Like, you guys kill me, especially the mob, talking about, oh, that's a bad call. That's pass interference, bruh. He literally ran up to him and grabbed him and then put his arm around him with the other off arm and tried to defend it. That's pass interference, bro. If that would have happened to one of our receivers on 4th and 5, you'd be bitching and screaming about where's the flag if they don't throw it, okay? Stop your nonsense. That's pass interference. He finally got caught. Juice has been out here bank robbing for weeks upon weeks. He finally got caught. It happens, okay? It is what it is. Our defense is hard to watch. My God, it's bad. And I tried to warn you last week. There were so many of you trying to spin this positive narrative on there was a lot of quick passing game. It was a lot of quick game last week. How are you going to get to a quarterback? I said, guys, there was quick game. Yes, there was. The entire game was not quick game. Trust me, next week, they're going to eat this defense alive because we can't get anywhere near the quarterback without blitzing. And Jack doesn't want to blitz. He finally relented. On 3rd down, he said, okay, I got to blitz. I know I'm not going to get there. And he would blitz on 3rd downs, and we would force a punt magically. So when the game's on the line, on 4th and 5, Shouldn't you send another blitz? I would have. With the game on the line in regulation tied at 26, shouldn't you send a blitz on 3rd and 7? I would have. But that's just me. We get 0 pass rush. Our twist and stunt game is trash. They're double teaming the tackles on the inside for the most part. Those guys aren't winning individual battles because a lot of times they're getting double teamed. And, because the other guys don't win on the outside, Casey Too almost forced a fumble, but because the other 2 guys on the outside, whomever, it doesn't really matter who it is. James Smith-Williams hurt his hamstring, so that's going to further cripple the depth that we already didn't have at defensive end. So it's going to take it to a new low, right? Though whoever's outside, it doesn't really matter. They're not going to win. So now Jack and company have to take our defensive tackles instead of just letting them rush a lot of times. Now we got to run twists and stunts in games to try to get to the quarterback because guys can't win individual one-on-one matchups. So there's no pass rush. David Mayo, he's fighting his guts out. I don't have a David Mayo issue right now. A lot of people, every time, oh my God, David Mayo sucks. Every time a pass is caught, the guy that's closest to the completed pass, that guy sucks. Oh my God, Jamin Davis is terrible. How about giving the credit to the opposition? How about that's a great pass from Geno Smith? How about Jamin did his job and the offense just won on that particular snap? You can't get mad at David Mayo for being matched up one-on-one with Jackson Smith and Jigba on 3rd and 7 on a shallow cross and getting cooked. That's the coverage. That's the defense. Don't put David Mayo in match coverage on a shallow cross because his responsibility is the first cross. He has to take it. Don't put him in that situation. Don't put him in that position. He's not going to win. I didn't think he played that poorly. We just don't have any dogs. We don't have any dogs, guys. Our defense doesn't have any talent anymore. Seriously. You look at the secondary, we don't have playmakers back there. It's just Kendall Fuller. We don't have any playmakers back there. We never had playmakers at linebacker, and now you don't really have any playmakers on the defensive line. There's no defensive prowess anywhere. And so games that we might have had a chance to win, like this one, like Dallas, we can't beat Dallas because you can't stop Dallas. Who's going to stop CeeDee Lamb? Because we're not getting to Dak Prescott. Who's going to cover him for that long? You don't stand a chance against prolific offenses anymore. The only teams you're going to be able to beat are the teams like next week against the Giants. The Rams, you may be able to beat them. If Stafford plays and he's locked in and they can protect, they'll beat us too probably. Our defense isn't any good, and it's hard to watch. It's Medusa right now. It's hard to watch because I know I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's no way we're getting off the field here. And they fought. They gave us everything that they had. It's just not going to be enough. In order to win games moving forward, we're going to have to outscore teams. Period. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not. And right now, what is the thing that I keep talking about? Consistency. That's the thing that we lack. And we lacked it today, right? All the shit that we had been doing from an offensive standpoint with the play calling, that shit went out of the window in this game. EB went back to old EB today. He forgot about the run game for 3 quarters and didn't remember that, oh shit, we got a running back that can actually run the football. He didn't remember that until the 4th quarter. And then magically, check this out. Check this out. Magically, the offense comes alive when you start to run the football. Go figure. Isn't that amazing how that works? You run the ball a little bit, and magically, things start to open up. And you get into a rhythm. And you start to move the ball. And you start to score points. We hadn't scored a touchdown outside of the Brian Robinson play on the 4th play of the game. We hadn't scored a touchdown all day. And then EB says, well, shit, I've tried everything else. Maybe I should try to turn around and hand it to 8. What a novel idea. What a concept. You hand it to 8 a couple times. It slows everything down. You get into a rhythm and voila, we're in the end zone. The next drive, you hand it to 8 again. It doesn't get a lot of yards, but it's just about the consistency of it. Now Seattle has something else they have to think about, something else they have to defend. You're leaning on them. We move it again. Isn't that just incredible how that works? So I talked about, man, I'd really like to get John Bates more involved. Did I not say that on like Thursday? I said, man, you know what? John Bates is open a lot, and I like John. I think John should get, and what happens? John Bates gets 19 targets in the first half. But you know what I also said? Please don't throw John Bates a screen. I don't need to see that, though. And what does he do? Throws John Bates a screen. Now, it was a cute screen, and I love the concept because we run a lot of sprint outs, right? So they fake the sprint out to the left, which is a staple for this offense. We run a lot of sprint outs with Sam. And they do a sprint out, left, screen back right, and it's John Bates. I mean, what are we going to get done with Bates on a screen? This is why we need a more athletically gifted tight end. That said, I'm proud of the way the team hung in and fought. This is about as good as it's going to get moving forward. We're going to have to lean on the offense. This defense, again, it's good enough to shut down bad offenses and do what is necessary. Like, I expect us to beat up the Giants pretty good next week. I do. But it's not good enough to contend with real offenses. Seattle's a real offense. You know, I heard a lot of people, the Seahawks are overrated. They may be, you know, their record may not be indicative of how good they are or not. Like 6-3. Maybe they're not a 6-3 team. That's what their record is. They're a 6-3 team. They're good, okay? Were they beatable? Absolutely. Should we have beaten them? Maybe. But what you saw today, that's the best product we can put on the field. We're not going to sack teams. We're not going to create any turnovers unless the other team is just being negligent with the football. This is who we are defensively. We got to play sound football, gap responsibility, make tackles. We missed a bunch of them today. Percy Butler, I'm talking to you. This shit is getting old fast, okay? But we got to play sound gap scheme football. Everybody's got to do their job. And we can't make any mistakes because we're not good enough to overcome it from a talent perspective. We have Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, David Mayo, Percy Butler, all on our defense. Danny Johnson, like, these are the guys that are playing meaningful snaps for us. You can't win consistently with that kind of a group being put on the field week in and week out. Those are starters, by the way, minus Danny Johnson. All the guys I just mentioned are starting because of one reason or another. We're relying on them to play a huge chunk of the snaps. And for Danny Johnson, he had to pretty much play the entire game. This is what it's come to. But as I already told you guys, after we lost to the Giants, I'm outside for Sam. As a matter of fact, after we lost to the Bears, I'm outside for Sam because it's NHO. And if you don't know, now you know.
New Howell order.
I would have gone for 2. Obviously, it didn't matter, but I think it would have mattered, right? We shouldn't have had to go for 2. Joey Sly doesn't mean. First of all, shot. Can we just golf clap? Golf clap for Tress Way. This is on me. Put this one on my shoulders, okay? Put this one on my plate. This one, you could charge this to my account. This one's on me. Because I brought up Cheese's name last week And in passing, and I didn't want to draw any attention. I even knocked on a little bit of wood. I just should have kept his name out of my mouth. I said, hey, we ain't heard from him in a while. I'm not going to say shit else about him. The snaps were horrible today. And Tress kept bailing them out. One was on the ground. One was up high, and he had to get the shit down. Shout out to 5, man. He was huge today. 5 was on time today, man. And, you know, sometimes I don't think we give 5 enough credit. I don't think we give him enough credit. 5 was alive and well today. We needed him. Not just as a punter, but as a holder, for sure. He was clutch. You hate losing games like this, but this is indicative of where we are from a coaching standpoint. And this is indicative of where we are from a talent perspective as well. Because now the quarterback is here. Like, Ron can't keep selling us on the development. The quarterback is ready to win now. The quarterback was ready to beat Philadelphia in week 4. The defense wasn't ready to beat Philadelphia in week 4. The quarterback was ready to beat Philadelphia in week 8. The defense wasn't ready to beat Philadelphia in week 8. The quarterback was ready to beat the Seattle Seahawks in week 10. Like, we don't need to keep talking about the development of the quarterback. He's ready. He's been ready. We knew, and they're going to be bumps. I've already said this to you guys before the season started. They're going to be bumps in the road. He was 3 touchdowns, no interceptions today. Under duress for most of the day, but finding a way to make it happen. He was out freaking standing today. He's ready. You don't have to keep talking to me about the development of the quarterback. Develop the rest of the damn football team. That's what you need to do as a coach. Don't keep talking to me about the development of the quarterback. We were supposed to be building the roster and dropping the quarterback in. The roster isn't good enough. But if there is a silver lining to all of this, and there is a silver lining, is that Ron is still on track to be fired at season's end. Jack and everybody, and again, EB still in evaluation mode. I was not pleased with him at points today, but I thought overall he did enough to have us in a position to win this game. I did not love a lot of the play calling in the first half. I did not love a lot of the play calling even in the third quarter. But in the fourth quarter, he saved his best for last. And when we needed the offense to put up or shut up, EB put up and the offense put up. And unfortunately, like always, the defense wasn't able to do so. We got lucky last week. Okay? We got lucky last week. Weren't able to be as lucky this week. And I told you, you're not going to get away next week if you don't clean up some of the shit we saw last week. And what happens? You don't clean up some of the shit we saw last week and you get got this week. It's just how these things go. You see better competition. They're going to play better. And if you don't raise your level of play, they're going to beat you. The offense knew the assignment and they rose to the occasion. Unfortunately, the defense saw the assignment, didn't bother to study, and didn't bother to put in the work necessary to get a passing grade. So once again, your quarterback is over here busting his ass, dragging this offense along, and really the team for that matter, giving you a shot. And unfortunately, the defense isn't carrying their weight. And that's always the issue with this team. Because it's not, the offense isn't great every week. I don't want to sit here and make it seem like Sam is throwing 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions every single week. And the defense is just giving it up every week. They take turns. But I'm going to tell you right now, moving forward, the defense is going to suck just about every week. Okay? Just so you know, there aren't going to be many weeks. Next week is one of the last few opportunities it's going to have a chance to get its shit off. And if it can't get its shit off next week, we're in trouble for the rest of the season, okay? You can't get your shit off against Danny DeVito and that depleted Giants offense. It's going to be tough sledding the rest of the way if you can't shut those boys down and keep them to less than 14 points next week. I'm just telling you right now. If you can't put the hammer down on those clowns, we in for a long final, 5-6 games, however many damn games we got left. We in for a long, long remainder of the season. After that, I don't think there's going to be a week where we're going to be pleased with the defensive performance. It's just, can you create some turnovers to even the playing field and give the offense a chance? If you can't create turnovers, and I said we had to win the turnover battle, and we didn't, you're not going to win the game. Because, again, defensively, we're not good enough. And I'm glad that they didn't get any points on the Sam fumble. It's good to know that they were able to come out and get a stop. But a lot of that was, Seattle Seahawks penalties, putting them behind the sticks. We got lucky a couple of times, too. Seattle, had penalties at the most inopportune times that, Geno Smith with the intentional ground. That should have been a field goal before halftime, or at least an attempt, right? So Seattle helped us out. It could have been worse. But this is all I know. It's NHL. And my guy Sam is over here cooking. He's over here cooking NFL defenses. Ain't no way you can't walk away impressed. Because this is the thing. This is one of the truest marks of a really good quarterback. Hey, when the game's on the line, and we absolutely got to have it. This was the knock on Kirk Cousins. This is why y'all didn't love Kirk, right? This is why y'all couldn't never rock with Kirk. Because y'all always felt like Kirk couldn't get it done when it mattered most. Well, we got to do that when the game's on the line, he getting the shit done 9 times out of 10. Unfortunately, he's got a defense that ain't getting the shit done. So, as a coach, you got to understand your defense ain't stopping the opposition. You better go for 2. Overtime, that shit ain't where it's at because you're not getting stops. Stop treating this shit like we got a legitimate defense. Stop acting like, hey, we good over here. We're going to get it back to you. Because you're not. But that's Ronald for you. Wasting timeouts at the end. We got an incomplete pass. See, I wasn't even tripping about the timeouts at the end, like Mark Sanchez and Kevin Kugler were, because I'm like, Sam's going to score a touchdown. I don't need those timeouts unless I have plans of getting a stop, which I know the defense wasn't. I literally asked the mob after the touchdown, raise your hand if you think this game is going to overtime. And there were actually people, like a bunch of them, that raised their hand. I'm like, bless your hearts. I don't really know what you guys are watching right now, but bless your hearts if you think this game is going to overtime. Ronald's got to quit acting like this defense is any good. You got a chance to go win the game. You have to take it. This defense isn't any good. It hasn't been good. There were people that lectured me at the beginning of the season. Shame on you, Louie Tee. Jack Del Rio's defense always plays better after the first 5 games of the season. Oh, really? Okay. And miss me with the Sweat and Young stuff because they were trash with those 2 guys in tow. We gave up 38 to Philadelphia with those two dudes still on the roster. Okay. So you can miss me with that whole conversation about, well, they traded away 2 of their best players on defense. We were the 31st ranked scoring defense with those brothers on the defensive line. What do you think we're going to be with those brothers gone? Okay. A lot of people, addition by subtraction. Okay. Show you right. Okay. All it's going to do is further hammer home the point that Sam's the guy because he's literally going to have to carry this bitch the remainder of the way. And anybody that's watching that ain't a hater is going to have to say, hey, y'all defense ain't shit, but boy, y'all quarterback, he's a mother effer. That's all I'm looking for at this point. That's what I'm hanging my hat on. You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you like. Yeah, you just can't say shit about my quarterback, though. You know why?
New Howell order.
get to the comment section. See what y'all got to say, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all up. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, I'm not moved. No moral victory. Sam needed help out there. Predicting it now. We get blown out by the Giants at home. That's trash. But you a troll. I know you trolling. And everybody else can fall for that. I'm not. So we just going to move on from that one. Vikings and Seahawks win. And we are removed from the playoff contention, and the Harris group pulls the trigger on Ron. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. Right? I don't see us losing to the Giants. Sam learned a lot from that first game against the Giants. Like I said, that was the turning point for Sam. I feel like turning point for EB as well. Even though I wasn't blown away by EB, EB wasn't terrible today. You know, I just thought he lacked the consistency I was looking for. What I got in the fourth quarter, I was looking for that from the first quarter, and it took me all the way to the fourth quarter to get consistency out of EB. You know, calling runs, remaining dedicated to the run, getting the ball out of Sam's hands quicker. Like a lot of what Sam had to do was create, because it was a lot of deep developing routes, or guys were getting hemmed up at the line. Like Seattle disrespected our receivers for the most part. They got up in their face. They were aggressive. You know, they disrupted them at the line of scrimmage. They doubled Terry. Every time I looked at Terry, he seemed like it was another dude over the top. So you could be aggressive at the line of scrimmage when you got help over the top. Jahan was non-existent. He was on a milk carton. I don't even think he had a catch today. Again, that's on the coordinator, right? So you can't throw that same screen you ran with John Bates. You can't run that for Jahan Dotson. Instead, have Jahan line up all the way outside, motion him in, right? Run the sprint out to the left, have Jahan look like he's about to go up the field, and then have him dig back around and catch it. You can't throw that same screen to Jahan instead of John Bates. Like, again, it's not rocket science. I think people make shit a lot harder than it needs to be. But again, that's just me. I'm just a fan of getting my best players to football. That shit helps. Like Seattle, I don't see Seattle force feeding the ball to their tight ends a whole hell of a lot. Yeah, they got a couple targets. You got to feed the tight ends a little bit, keep the defense honest. But I see a lot of DK Metcalf. I see a lot of Tyler Lockett. I see a lot of the running back, Kenneth Walker, the third. Like, these are the guys you're getting the ball to. Why? Because they're difference makers. Got to get my difference makers tough. Matter of fact, how many targets did DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have combined in this game? My guess is 13 between the two of them. It's probably, you know what? Let's go to 16, because they threw it a lot to those dudes. DK had 12 targets. Tyler Lockett had 10. 22 targets for the Seahawks' two best players. 22. All right. Meanwhile, our best two, Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, 8 for Terry and 2 for Jahan Dotson. 10 total. Lockett had 10 by himself. DK had 12 by himself. It's cool. Sam Howell, 9th different receiver. He's completed a pass. That's great. That is awesome. I love that he's spreading the wealth. I need my best players to touch the damn football. Okay? That's what I need. Okay? All that other shit sounds good. That's great. Brian Robinson was a man-child today. 6 catches, 119 yards, a touchdown, 8 carries, 38 yards. 8 carries for 38 yards. The man averaged damn near 5 a pop, and he only got 8 carries today. 8. I don't really know what else to say, man. I wish I had more for you, but I can only give you what they gave me to work with. Okay. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, EB not running the ball is a joke at this point. I was so disappointed in his lack of commitment today. I was so excited last week, and he went right back into the EB that we saw for the first, 7 weeks prior or 8 weeks prior to last week. That's disappointing, because the lack of consistency is the consistency, right? He's consistent at being inconsistent as a play caller. and it's getting old, you know. But again, he's done dynamite. He's done wonders for Sam's development. And if that's the most important thing, I can't lie about that. It just sucks because he could make the game so much easier for Sam if he just ran the football. Like, okay, we've proven that Sam can get it done. Like, you don't have to throw it 45 times just to say, hey, let's see if he can do it. He can do it. He's proven that already. You don't need to do that anymore. Now let's just call a game that gives Sam the best chance to succeed. To me, personally, running a football, being more balanced. We ran it, 14 times total today? We ran the ball 14 times total today for 68 yards. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks, who don't really run it all that well and hadn't been running it all season, especially the last few weeks, they ran it 26 times, and their running back had 19 carries. And it's not like Seattle was winning most of the game. They took the lead and had the lead for pretty much most of the second half, but it was a 4-point lead. Then it was a 7-point lead. Then it was tied. So it's not like, they were trying to take the air out of the ball and run the football to try and protect the lead. It's a close ball game. We didn't need to throw it because we were down big. He just didn't run the ball. And that's frustrating because there are opportunities to run the football. Benjamin Slade, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Benjamin Slade writes, it's the hope that gets me every week. Every year, 40 years, Cheeseman's got to go. Well, I told you, you know why I'm not upset today? You know why I'm not bothered? Is because I literally told you guys this was going to happen. And I'm not, like, I'll be upset if we lose next week. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. I'll be upset if we don't blow the Giants out next week. Yeah, I'm talking, that probably sounds crazy to some of you. And it probably should, because when's the Giants are that bad. Like, if we can't blow them out, I'm at a loss at that point. I'm at a loss at that point. I fully expect Sam to carve those balls. If Wink Martindale comes with that same tired ass, I'm a blitz on every damn down bullshit, I expect us to carve that shit up. I expect us to eat that shit alive. And I expect our defense to have some fun next week at Danny DeVito's expense. Now, if you can't stop Saquon Barkley, that goes out the window, right? Got to stop the run first if you want to have some fun. That's the rules. Got to follow the rules. You want to have some fun, you got to stop the run. Anyway, I told y'all what was going to happen. And I said, I'm not going to be disappointed. Why? Because I'm going into the game expecting the worst, hoping for the best. That's how you protect yourself. I've done it for decades as a fan of this team. So I know how to do this. And this is what makes it even better for me now. I got a quarterback. So I got something that I'm invested in. That wasn't the case, for most of the time that I've been using that philosophical approach, right? Leave Cheese alone. Let's just not talk about him, and hopefully it'll just go away. All right. Everything will let's just not focus on that. Because when we didn't, it just went away. So let's just not talk about it. I am responsible. Put that on my plate. I did that. Let's just not talk about it anymore. Okay. Let's just see what happens. Okay. Brant Jenkins, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Brant writes, why, when we finally get an offense that can score points and start with a lead, the defense can't stop anyone? Because that's how this works. And the next GM that comes in here, this is the thing that sucks. We still need offensive stuff. And we've spent all of our first round resources on defense, like what feels like the last 10 years. We need a lot of defensive help. Like, I wouldn't be mad if they spent the first 2 picks on defensive players. Again, we can't do that, though. We got to get us a tackle. I would love to get a tight end. I don't think a tight end is mandatory in the first two to 3 rounds. You can find you a stud in the 4th round. But you got to go get you a tackle. You have to. Even if you don't double up, you got to get you a tackle. And I think you have to draft a defensive end in the second round. You got 2 second-round picks. You have to get you a D end. Have to, right? And I think you got to do something. And again, linebacker is one of those positions. I don't think you have to draft a first or a second or even you just got to know what you're looking for. But we got to do a lot of shit to this defense. And you know what? You got bread, you got some draft capital, right? But you also have a lot of free agent dollars to spend. I would have spent some last year, but again, some of the bread might have been tied up, and with the whole Daniel Snyder situation, I can't say. I just looked at the money that some of these backers got, and I was like, bro, you couldn't have given David Long that. You couldn't have gave Azeez Al-Shire that money, right? Like these are some modest ass deals we talking about here. We want to do something though, because this defense is a joke now. Literally, this shit is hard to watch. G Style, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. G Style, thank you. Writes, what it do, Lou? What's up, G Style? If you're a Washington fan, the hurt always seems to hit different. This loss made me sad, big homie. Feels like we're on the Truman Show. By the way, Juice was horrific today. I don't really know what y'all are looking for from Benjamin St. Juice. This is who he is. This is who he's always been as a corner. Juice giveth, Juice taketh away, right? I've always told you from day one, from the jump, the reason I didn't love the pick is because he's not going to take the ball away. He wasn't a guy that took it. Like, I'm always very, very cautious and even somewhat skeptical of corners in college that don't have a career pick to their name. I was that way with Mackenzie Alexander coming out of Clemson. I'm like, there's no way you're going to be a good NFL corner, elite. Because you can't take you telling me, and I get it, when you're an elite corner, they throw away from you. But bro, just right place at the right time. If you're an elite corner, they got to find out you elite somehow. Usually how they find that out is by you picking them off 2 or 3 times. Then they realize, okay, like if we can avoid this dude, we just going to avoid him. He ain't had no picks. Juice ain't had no picks. Now he was one of the leaders in the nation in pass breakups. Well, what has he been here? He's one of the best in the league at pass breakups. But pass breakups don't take the ball away. And so you can get a pass breakup on 2nd and 9 and give up 3rd and 9 for a first down when you got a chance to take it away. So that's Juice, though. I've always said he's going to play sticky coverage underneath, sometimes too sticky, and he's going to get caught with his hand in the cookie jar like he did today. But he'll give you a shot. That's the roller coaster ride. We just got to ride with Juice every single week. And I'm cool with that because I know what he is. Some of y'all expectations are way too high, and so you get let down. I told you what Juice was when we drafted him, and he's been everything that I thought he was. He hasn't disappointed me. He's did exactly what I thought, and I like Juice. But there's no way you can love him. Again, he's the purple stuff in the back of the fridge, right? If you're into the purple stuff, Juice is your guy. Brendan McCloskey, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, did Ron not learn from week 4, go for 2? No, of course he didn't. And, what's crazy is we were going to be in that same situation again against the Giants, and he wouldn't have gone for 2 there either. Now, that game, I could have understood it because the Giants stink. They probably weren't going to score again in the game. They hadn't scored since the first half. So I could understand it in that game in particular if they had said, you know what, we're not going for it 2. We're going to kick the extra point and go to overtime. But I would have gone for 2. In all of these situations, I would have gone for 2. But again, Ronald is going to Ronald. He's going to Ronald. So, Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, almost 500 yards given up. It's getting chilly out there, but Howell always seems to have some pocket warmers ready for all of us outside with him. Hashtag NHO.
New Howell order.
I don't give a damn how cold it's outside. It could be 15 below. I ain't going inside. I ride for my man Sam. Y'all know what it is. All right. I'm going to find a way to stay warm, even when it's chilly outside, for my man Sam. All right. It's NHO. And if you don't know, now you know the takeover has begun. All right. He's already the third best quarterback in the division. And I'm eyeing that 2 spot, but you can't take over the 2 spot without wins. Individual accolades ain't going to get it done. He's going to have to win games, and wins are a team stat, but we assign those to quarterbacks. So now he's got a losing record as a starter. You want to catch up to that, you want to have to start winning some ball games. You ain't going to win it with this group here. So all we can do is continue to prove week in, week out, we got us one. And put the doubters to rest. I said this before the game. I don't know what more he has to show you. It's still people talking as if he needs to do more. Why? Like, I know what it is. Here's another example. You want more? What you want, money? More? Okay, here's another 3 touchdown passes, including one with the game on the line. You want more? Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, who writes 35 bad tackling, poor angles weekly. I can't do it with Percival any longer. Like I'm over here checking daily. Hey man, what are they talking about with Defoe? I know he broke his shoulder now. Somebody told me he broke his shoulder. Like, how much longer are we talking, bro? Is it over? Are you done for the season? Like, what are we talking about? Because I don't know how much more of this shit I could take. Because, Percival giveth, Percival taketh away. He made a great play on a pass breakup. He had 2 good pass breakups. He had a great tackle on the 3rd down. You go, hell yeah. And then you put him out in space with somebody running at him, and he loses his damn mind every time. I don't have the patience for that shit. Because I'm one of those dudes that I don't like seeing the same mistakes being made over and over again. And he's a repeat offender every week. And I just don't have the stomach for that shit. I just don't. Future Millionaire, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Juice PI, Juice face mask, Juice touchdown, Juice game-winning drive. It was a rough go of it for him today, but I don't kill Benjamin St. Juice. Because, again, he's performed up to my expectations and the standards that I've set for him. Some of y'all put unrealistic expectations on him, so you are disappointed. But you guys got to keep in mind, week after week, Juice gets away with pass interference at least 2 or 3 times a week. Last week, didn't he face mask somebody? Good ass catch. Didn't he face mask somebody last week and they didn't call it against the Patriots? And we was like, how the hell he get away with that? He's gotten away with more shit than dudes get away in their whole careers. He's gotten away with that shit in his first 3 years of his career. And you complaining? I just think y'all need to set your expectations realistically. And then you won't be so upset. Zoe Life, No Life. Been a member for 7 months. Who writes, today was all Sam, always coaching mismatch. Until that changes, we'll always be behind the 8 ball. And here's the thing. I was watching the Lions because we all seem to like Ben Johnson. And they scored 41 today. And their head coach is as aggressive as it gets. Like, I would die for a coach to have a coach like that, right? Like Dan Campbell. Because he's just like, F it. I believe in my players, and I believe in them so much so that with the game on the line is tied at 38 apiece, it's 4th and 2. I can kick a field goal right now and take the lead, but I'm going to give it back to the Chargers with about a good minute and 45 seconds left, and they got, no timeouts, but that don't matter at this point. I mean, the score is 38-38. So what does that tell you? If I kick this field goal, we might still lose this game. So kicking a field goal and taking the lead, which is what 97% of the coaches would have done in that situation, 4th and 2, at the opposing team's 35-yard line, probably kicking the 53-yard field goal to take the lead. I think it was 4th and 5, actually. It wasn't 4th and 2. He said, no, I'm going for it after that shit. Either we going to win the game on 4th down here, and then we going to run this clock down, and we going to kick this walk-off field goal, or if we lose, we lose. But I'm not kicking a field goal and then giving it back to the team that's crucifying my defense. Not doing that. You know what our coach would have done? Joey Sly would have been out there kicking a 53-yarder, and the defense would have then promptly gave up a touchdown, and we would have lost the game, or they would have given up a field goal, and we would have went to overtime and lost. Either way, I'd kill for a coach like that, Dan Campbell. But I was watching Ben Johnson, and I don't think his style of play matches up with Sam Howell's skill set. Like, that's another important factor is we got to get a guy in here if it ain't EB. And personally, I would love to see EB, even if he's not the head coach. I would love to see him remain here as the offensive coordinator. I'm almost to the point where I know this isn't how we want to do it. We want to do everything the right way. We want to get the GM. I want the GM to pick the head coach, and I want the head coach to pick his staff. But I'm almost to the point where I'm ready to force EB on the next the next coach. Like, bro, sorry, but we're not giving our quarterback another coordinator to have to develop under. Sorry, not sorry. But if you hire an offensive-minded guy, he's going to want to bring his scheme in here. So unless it's somebody that from Kansas City's tree that has the same philosophical beliefs as EB does, that's going to be a hard sell. But at the end of the day, we're always going to go into games. Let's call it, you know how they give you, Vegas usually gives you 3 points when you're at home. You just get an automatic 3. Let's just say every game is 3 points. We had a 3-point deficit based off of coaching alone. To be actor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, Lou, almost Hollywood worthy. We need to run the ball more under center to create play action. They must go hand in hand. EB being too stubborn. Damn, another one. Yeah, another one slipped through the fingers. And I felt like it could have been avoidable from the offensive side of things. Just starting consistency sooner. Establishing a rushing attack sooner. I thought he got away from the screen game too early, right? We always feel like the scripted plays are really nice, and then shit kind of just goes quiet, radio silent for about a quarter to a quarter and a half before shit picks up towards the end, because that's when Sam's adrenaline kicks in and he just turns into a beast. But it's like that period in between the scripted plays, which is like usually for us, the third quarter is usually disastrous for us. It's rare that we do shit. It don't matter how well we've played in the game. The third quarter seems to be, I would really like to know what is the point differential for us in the third quarter, because I bet you it's pretty significant. My guess is the third quarter point differential is one of the worst in the league for us, because we really don't do shit in the third quarter. We do a lot of damage in the first half. We do a lot of damage in the fourth quarter. We've been a really good fourth quarter team this year. We don't really do shit in the third quarter. But I'm a big advocate for running the football and getting under center to do it. And when we started to turn shit around, what did we do? We got under center and we handed the bitch to Brian Robinson, and he got busy. Again, it's not rocket science. You run it under center, and it gives you an opportunity to set up play action fake, like you said. Hard to run and sell play action fake from the gun. Nobody's buying that shit. Frankie, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, the defense gave up 500 yards on the day, but what do we got to remember and focus on is the development of a young quarterback, and we grow as he grows. Ronald Rivera, 2023. There you go. That's exactly how he'll spin it on Monday. right? After watching the film, seeing how disgusting the defense was, especially when we had to have it, his response is going to be, well, it's, you know what, John? The truth of the matter is, it's really about the development of the quarterback. You know, as we continue to grow as a football team, we have to continue to make sure that we're developing the young quarterback. And we're really pleased with what we've gotten out of Sam. Okay. As the defense gives up 500 yards to a struggling Seahawks offense. Gotcha. The original dream. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes Sam Howell masterclass. Brock Bowers and Rivera will be learning French Canadian. Great outcome. I don't know if we're in a position to take a tight end in the first round. I don't think that's a good move for us. That's the shiny toy. That's fun. That looks good. I'm not sure. Like, to me, Brock Bowers is a Gucci belt. But, bro, we don't own any really good jeans. So while you got on a $200 Gucci belt, you got on some Route 55 jeans, bro. Like, how am I supposed to sell that? Like, we got to be better than that. You can't go all out on the belt and then your jeans is trash. We got to get this offensive line in order, right? We still got issues up front. Brock Bowers is nice. I think we gotta get us a tackle first before we can even think about. I think we gotta get us a tackle before we can think about a tight end. Lorenzo Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, they put 26 on DK on the final drive. Shaking my effing head. Why? I mean, because they don't usually have 29 travel. I don't know if y'all have noticed that or not, but 29 doesn't usually travel. He usually stays on one side of the field or the other. So I think they like that matchup, though. 26 on 14. I think they like that match because Juice usually does better with bigger receivers. He usually does better with bigger receivers. So I think they like that matchup. But at the same time, they were scared of DK's speed, and that's why Juice was playing so far off, and that's why he was able to kind of get inside on him. I mean, Juice, I thought he held up. It's just you can't play that far off. But if you're afraid of his speed, you much rather give up the pass right in front of you than the one behind you. So you got to pick your poison. I already told y'all going into the game, their receivers scare me because we really can't cover them. And you're not getting any pass rush. Rob you. Right. We could have used Forbes and D Forest today. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Forbes. This would have been a really good game from a development standpoint for Forbes. I thought we were robbed of that today because that's what it's about now is the young talent that we do have, and we don't know how much of it we truly have, that needs to continue to be on display every single week, and we need to continue to try to develop that. So it was a little disappointing that he got thrown out of this game because knowing we were playing against a team that was stacked at the receiver position, I wanted to see how he was going to handle the challenge today. Unfortunately, we were robbed of that. Kev090. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, that PI on fourth and that fumble, biggest plays. Those were huge plays in the game. Both of them were. Absolutely. Because we were in Seattle Seahawks territory on the fumble. We were moving the ball there. Don't know if it would have turned into points or not, but I would love to have seen what would have happened had we not fumbled there. And then the fourth down, that for me in all intents and purposes was the game. Because if you get that stop, Sam is going down and he's going to score. He's going to do exactly what he ultimately did, which is take us down the field. We're going to score a touchdown. So that would have put us up. By what would that have done? it would have put us up 7 because the game was tied at that point at 19. So Seattle goes and gets the touchdown and takes the lead 26-19. Without it, they would have pretty much, I think, been out of the game because they weren't going to score another touchdown on the defense. They were going to get another field goal, but they weren't going to score a touchdown. That was a big call. They had been letting us play for most of the day, so I hated the call. But it was, if you're going to call it, that's pass interference. I can't sit here and act like it's not pass interference. It's pass interference. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. Miss wasn't slide. Cheese snap. 2 points, still loses it. I didn't see the snap. But I believe it. He was all over the place today. He was high, he was low, he was all over the place. So I wouldn't doubt that. 2 points, still loses it. Again, yes. Literally, if you're going to play it literally how the game turned out, yeah. You go for 2 and you get it, you still lose 29-27. I'm just telling you, that changes everything. Okay? That changes everything. I liken it to, and I know this is a weird analogy, but this is where I'm at with mine right now. You go out with your friends to the mall. How you spend your money is going to change drastically based on how much you got. All right? You got $200. You can go in and you can be a little bit frivolous with your bread if you want, because you got some extra bread to play around with. Right? Or we could even take it like you going on a date with a female, you know. And in your mind, you're like, yeah, I need about a good $100 for the two of us to go out and eat, have a good time, and not have to worry about if she wants something on the menu. I ain't got to trip about it. But y'all walking around the mall first, and she end up wanting a little, you know, Auntie Annie's cinnamon roll. You like, oh, in your mind, you're like, hey, hold on a minute now. I don't got all this extra bread. You ain't tripping about Auntie Annie's if you got an extra $50 in your pocket. And you got a ball 50 to work with. But if you go to the mall and you only got 75 and you kind of on a tight budget and she asking for Auntie Annie's, you like, I might have to play this a little different, you know? You want some? Nah, I'm good. I'm good, right? Whereas you know you could go for Auntie Annie's, but you're like, nah, I'm a pass. I got to hold out because I know we got to go out to eat later. It just changes how you go about business, right? You're a little bit tighter because you know you ain't got that much more room for error. When it's 26-26, I got an extra $50 in my pocket. I'm good. She wants Auntie Annie's? Hell, I'll get one too. I'm good. I got $75 in my pocket though, or I just got $100. I'm going to try to talk her out of it. And if I can't, I'm definitely not getting a pretzel as well. I'll have to sit this one out. It changes being up 1 and them being down 1. Geno might not handle that pressure well. He might short arm one trying to be perfect because they down. The play caller might call a different play because they down 1. Everything changes versus being tied. So I can't subscribe to the theory that it wouldn't have mattered. Being up 1 versus being tied is totally different. It's totally different. It's like at the end of an NBA game. Having the ball up 1 or down 1 versus be tied, and if I miss this shot, we go to overtime. It's totally different. It's totally different. Excuse me. King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the North, thank you for being a member of the MOBB rights. Allowing that Walker touchdown reception and St. Jude's gifting them a touchdown with all those penalties was the difference. We choke in big make or break moments. Outside of Sam, no killer instinct. To me, you just hit on the head. Because everybody will talk about Sam's fumble. They didn't score any points off of that. Yeah, it took an opportunity away from us, They didn't score on that drive. Everybody will talk about St. Juice. They'll talk about the pass interference penalty. Make a effing tackle, okay? He threw a simple check down underneath. It looked like it was supposed to be a design screen. Whatever. So effing 2-yard pass he threw. And we act like Danny Johnson's tripping and falling, taking poor angles, and then Percy Butler doing what Percy Butler does, missed the tackle. Touchdown. That shit wasn't supposed to happen. Geno won't doing shit up until that point of the game. They hadn't scored a touchdown all day. That's the shit right there that I'm talking about. That's the bullshit that I can't deal with. I can't deal with that kind of incompetency. You got one job. Make the effort tackle, bro. Low-key, not low-key. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, yo, Lou, can you get my water from the fridge? You said you took it, right? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it since.
I put in the drawer and passed the bag. Now the bag has a hole in it. He said he didn't take it.
Well, it might be in the drawer. I don't know.
Where's your order?
On top of the fridge.
Why do you put these?
Yo, Lou. The first Forbes hit was helmet. Don't think anybody's denying that. But to eject him, really? I mean, even the in-house official that they have, Dean Blandino, was like, yeah, I wouldn't have thrown him out of the game. That was kind of trash. But, I mean, it is what it is. I knew they were so this is the kind of language that New York uses, right? Launching. That's one of those terms that they like to throw around. Like, when you launch yourself, meaning you leave your feet and you go helmet to helmet, they see that as an uncommon act to the game. So immediately they're looking at it and they're saying, hey, you being reckless out here, you got to pay for that. I remember when once upon a time, when they first installed this rule of ejecting folks, it had to be like, you almost had to decapitate a man. Like, somebody had to almost be leaving on a stretcher, or we had to go to 2 commercial breaks because he ain't got up yet. I mean, Lockett got up. I mean, he was in La La Land. I was shocked he came back in the game, but he got up. He walked to the sideline. He told everybody, I'm good, I'm good. And he ultimately was good because he came back. But I didn't think that warranted being tossed out of the game. Second, EB's got to run the ball more, man. Third, Juice let us down with those penalties. But last but not least, NHO.
New Howell order.
I don't disagree with anything you said. Juice, he definitely let us down, but I'm not mad at him like some of y'all are, because this is what I expect from him. Eventually, he's gonna get caught. Okay, as I mentioned already, Juice has been getting away with stealing, larceny for the longest. I mean, assault. He's been getting away, and he's been wanted for a while, and they finally caught up with his ass on a routine traffic stop. They caught him on a 4th and 5 on a simple slant. It wasn't anything crazy down the field. It was a routine traffic stop. They hemmed him up, and they got him. And then from that point on, it was just a rough go of it for him. You know, and shit happens. Like, I'm not going to sit here and kill him for face mask. Like, when you're trying to get a dude down, shit happens. Like, when guys hands to the face, you know, on a jam and the shit slide up and hit it. I mean, that shit happens. You hate it, especially on 3rd and 12, all the way on the opposite side of the field that don't got shit to do with the play. But it's a penalty, and shit happens. My problem isn't that stuff, right? I told you, I trip less about the in-game shit. My shit is the pre-snap shit, the avoidable stuff. That's the stuff I get pissed off about. The 12 men on the field because you couldn't run a dude off in time. And so you get a Seahawks 5 yards. Like, that's the shit that gets under my skin. $1.6 double dot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I told my son that we left too much time on the clock. Who didn't think that? Now, I shouldn't say that because I asked the mob point blank as soon as we scored. Raise your hand if you think this game's going to overtime. I was surprised by the number of folks that raised their hands. Like, seriously, you guys really think you got that much confidence in this defense? Interesting stuff. We couldn't stop their O in the second half. We had plenty of other opportunities, though. Hashtag NHL. Facts. We did. We had our chances. I'm not upset about, how the game ended because we had chances. It didn't have to come down to what it ultimately came down to. It's just like last week. If we don't make that play and they ultimately get the field goal and it goes to overtime and we ultimately lose, everybody's going to point to that final drive. But we had our chances. Sam threw a bad pick. We had our opportunities. We were up 10-0, dominating the game, and Brian Robinson fumbles. We had our chances. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, what's with the no effort to block the final field goal? Who's going to block it, Metaphor? Who's going to block it? Name one guy athletically gifted enough or one guy physically, physically gifted enough to break through the line and get his hand in there, or one guy that's athletically gifted enough. I watched the Chargers-Lions game. Derwin James jumps over the entire line and almost blocks the kick by Detroit. Watch that play. You'll see it 15 million times. All right. Best game of the day, 41-38. You'll see that field goal that Detroit kicks. Watch Derwin James. Who's that guy we don't have that guy on our team. Who's going to block the field goal? Rob, thank you for the super chat. Duran jumped up and fell over on the field goal, and they could have called him for leverage. And I'm like, Duran, what are you doing, bro? He fell all over the lineman, and the Seahawks are pointing at him like, bro, he can't do that shit. And I'm like, Duran, don't ever let me see you do that shit again. You trying to give him a touchdown. They settled for a field goal. Leave it alone. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, Juice had a rough day. But let's be honest. This guy commits a DPI every game. That's what I've been saying. Like, he finally got caught. You can't be mad when he finally gets caught. He grabbed the face mask last week. They didn't call it. They called it this week. You can't be mad. I always tell y'all this shit evens itself out. Somehow we, as fans, y'all, I won't say we because I'm not included in this. Somehow y'all manage to ignore the shit that he gets away with. And then when he gets called, now the officials hate us. I told y'all this shit always balances itself out. Seattle had way more penalties than us in this game. At one point, I don't know how it ended. I'm about to check now. At one point, they had 8 penalties. We had 3. It might have ended up because Juice had 3 on one possession by his damn self. So it might have ended up being a little bit more closer to even. 6, yeah. We had 6. They had 8, right? So, and again, we were very efficient on third downs again, 7-15. That's 3 weeks in a row. The defense they held Seattle to 4-14. They're one of the worst teams on third downs. We said that. And we held them to 4-14 on third downs. I mean, again, it was just all of those opportunities. We couldn't stop them in the fourth quarter, it seemed like. But, from the first 3 quarters, felt like we had opportunities. Eagle fan 1 writes, Sam passed the ball more than any quarterback in the NFL. He's supposed to have 5,000 yards. I don't know if he'll end up with 5,000 yards or not, but he's definitely dropped back more than any other quarterback, and it's not close, But that don't mean shit. And we see guys all the time drop back and have terrible completion percentages, throwing the ball all over the field to the other team. You give Zach Wilson the amount of drop backs Sam Howell has, and are you getting the same results? Hell no, you're not. Shit, you give Brock Purdy the same amount of drop backs that you gave Sam Howell, and are you getting the same results? I can tell you the answer right now. No, you're not. So It don't mean nothing how many he got. It's what he do with them. And he's out here carving up NFL defenses on a weekly basis. I would like him to not have as many pass attempts. Okay, I'm not asking for this shit, but this is where we at with it. Gregory V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I was at the game in person to witness the same old song and dance, shaking my damn head. Hashtag close but no cigar. It's what we do, Greg. You should be used to it by now. And I kind of saw it coming because we were 7-1 in our last 8 at Seattle in the regular season. So you knew. I was like, this is the type of shit I don't need. Don't give me these types of stats. So, Washington football fan WGIL, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, you're right, Lou. Under center opens up options. I mean, we've all watched football long enough. Most of us have, at least, have watched football long enough to know what being under center does for an offense. And we just don't do it enough, you know? Now, Sam is better from the gun, but that still doesn't change the fact that if you want the offense to operate more efficiently, you need to run from under center a lot more. I would hope EB would understand that, but clearly he has not. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rob Yu writes, Lou, I'm here every week, champ, but this definitely ends any playoff hope. I just know we got a quarterback, and I can't be happier to see his weekly improvement. So I told y'all before this game, because I expected to lose. I told y'all before the game that this doesn't end an opportunity to win the playoffs. Okay? This doesn't end a chance. It makes it tougher. It means you're going to have to beat a team that we probably won't be able to. Like, you can't beat the Miami Dolphins with this defense. You have no chance against them, right? Unless they do some stupid shit, you got no shot at beating the Miami Dolphins with this defense as constructed. You're probably not going to beat Dallas, probably not going to beat San Francisco, but you're going to have to now. You don't have a choice, because I kept telling y'all, you got to find 5 victories. And with the way Minnesota's playing, and they keep surprising me every week, if Minnesota keeps it up, we don't stand a chance, because they might get to 10. I mean, right now, I still think the number's 9, but they might get to 10 with the way that they're playing. Who knows? We'll see. I don't see 9 victories with this team. I see us Ronalding, okay, which is 7. And I see 7. And I think we're going to win 7 games. So, but we'll be in it. We'll have a chance. So we'll see what happens. But this was one, if you wanted the path to be the path of least resistance, you needed to win this game. And they didn't. So, and I didn't think they were going to win this game. So I totally understand. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, the juice was squeezed to the pulp all game. Yeah. Oh, I heard you. And it's going to happen that way. It's going to happen that way sometimes with him. You got to take the good with the bad with Benjamin St. Juste. He's a 3rd round corner for a reason. Like, you want one of those Devin Witherspoon types, you got to get that in the 1st round. Like, we got to hope Emmanuel Forbes turns into that, right? We got to hope Forbes turns into something like that. Right now, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. But we got to hope. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JLG writes, Percy Butler is hot buns, fresh out the oven. He cost us so much this season, and it's not funny. Yeah. At this point, I'm ready to. I don't know if Quan Martin's ready to do that job. You know, I don't know if he's ready to do that job. I don't even know if they view him in the same, respect as, because I think they view Quan as more of a nickel, playing that slot, whereas Percy is more of a single high safety, right? He's not playing over the slot. So I don't even know if they view them as the same type of player. But at this point, I'm just like, is there anything that we can do? Because I'm about sick of this clown being out there. I would rather, and I know Reeves is hurt and he's done for the season, but I would have rather seen Jeremy Reeves out there than this shit. It's getting old fast. Like, we had no business giving up that first touchdown. None. I don't think they would have scored a touchdown. Like, until later in the game, if they would have, continued to do what they started to do. That kind of opened up the floodgates, though. It's like that gave Seattle confidence. They scored, I think, on their next maybe 3 out of their next 5 possessions, 4 out of their next 5 possessions. Let me look. I'm going to just look because I'm interested now. Like, that one play changed everything. Let's see. So the touchdown happened on their second possession. We made them punt after Sam because Sam came back and fumbled. We made them punt after that. Then they got a field goal. Then they got a touchdown. And then they got a field goal. So they literally scored on every possession except one the rest of the game. So literally, after they gave up that stupid-ass touchdown on that stupid catch and run, literally they scored on 1, 2, 3. They scored on 3 out of their final 4 possessions after that. That literally energized them. And it's almost like we couldn't stop them after that. And it didn't need to be that way. That shit was dumb. Thomas Carter. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thomas writes, real talk though. How are we supposed to beat 12 men on the field every week? Feel like we playing the referees. New York refereeing and the team we playing. This is craziness. Thomas, I'll just tell you this. If you think we're losing because of the officials every single week, I don't have anything to say to you. Are the officials on our side? No, but I'm not looking for them to be on our side. I'm a big boxing fan, and one of the things I always say when it comes to fighters is don't leave the outcome of the fight, the match. Don't leave it in the balance of the judges. Don't allow them to decide the outcome because you don't know what the hell they're watching. You could think you're dominating the fight and you putting a bunch of rounds in the bag and then you hear the scorecards. You're like, what the F is this? Don't do it. You want to ensure that you win, knock the guy out, right? Knock the opposition out. If you're Washington, don't put yourself in a position where it comes down to a call here or a call there that could ultimately swing the game in the other team's favor. Against the Eagles, okay, Jahan, they jerked us on that Jahan drop, on that final drive. They jerked us. Don't blow coverage and let Devontae Smith score a walk-in touchdown. Don't do that. Like, there's things that you can do to not, how about you challenge a catch that's not a catch on the 4th down that will give you the football back? Like, there's things you can do to avoid being in a position to where 1 or 2 calls swings the balance in the favor of the opposition. Yeah, these calls don't help us. Don't put yourself in a position to be flagged for helmet to helmet. I get it. That's some bang bang shit. I mean, that's just a part of the game, honestly. It's hard to legislate that out of the game. Should he have been thrown out? No. But that was PI on Juice. That was a face mask on Juice. They throwing flags for infractions. What do you want them to do? Not throw the flag? Don't commit infractions. Easier said than done. The Seahawks had more penalties than us in this game. How can you say that it feels like New York that we're playing against New York? It's not like when the Eagles played the Dolphins, the Dolphins had 12 penalties and the Eagles had none. That's when you can use that excuse. Well, you got, come on, bro. I watched the Eagles guard tackle David Long as he was coming up the A-gap for a tackle for loss, and they didn't throw the flag. Yet, Tua throws a touchdown pass, same thing happens, and they throw the flag. That's when you can say we playing against the officials as well. I don't feel that way. The Seahawks had more penalties than us. We just didn't make enough plays. How about Percy Butler make a tackle? On the final drive of the game, when DK Metcalf catches that football, Percy Butler goes and ducks his head and just, ole! Actually go and wrap up. See what you hit and wrap up. And get his ass on the ground and make it a 58-yard field goal instead of a 44-yard field goal. He got 10 or 12 extra yards after Percy Butler ducked his head and ain't see what the hell he was hitting. That's bullshit. Dean Gabare, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. D writes, 52 seconds. Jack's defense is to hold to a field goal. All they need is 3, bro. This defense is not talented, just tired of losing, Louie. And Sam is him. NHO.
New Howell order.
At this point, I said this right when Sam, I would have gone for 2 first and foremost. And if we don't get it, we lose. But I'm okay with that because I knew we were going to lose anyway. So Ronald can't think that way. He has to think that we're going to overtime. I didn't. I've seen this movie before. I know what we're about to do. We're about to give up a field goal. It's just like when we played the Kansas City Chiefs back in 2017 on a Monday night when Josh Doxson had the touchdown in his hands and he dropped the bitch. And we kicked the field goal, and there was 42 seconds left, and we let Alex Smith roll out to his right, hit a receiver for a big-ass game, and they got the walk-off field goal, and they beat us. Who didn't know after Josh Doxson dropped the touchdown that we weren't about to lose that game? I did. I've seen this movie enough to know this is how it ends. I would have gone for 2. And it has nothing to do with all the shit I just said. I just would have gone for 2 because I know we couldn't stop them in overtime. We weren't going to stop them in overtime. I just told you they had scored on 3 straight possessions. And I get it. There was a 4th down and the officials had to bail them out. Well, we bailed them out. We did that. Barry Curtis Jr. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Barry. Right, JDR plus no talent equals worst defense in the league. I mean, it won't be the worst defense in the league, but it already wasn't all that great to begin with. You take off, those 2 guys that help the defense out exponentially. You see guys like Defoe, who I think very underrated. You see guys like that go down. And you guys, I love the fact that I actually love that Cody Barton is not here for us right now because you guys were shitting on Cody Barton, and this is what you wanted. You asked for this. Cody Barton sucks. You focused all your vitriol on Cody Barton so that you could get David Mayo in the game. I hope you're happy. But this is what we are. And in order to maximize what we have, you need coaching, and we don't have it. We don't have it. We got a basic, somebody calls him Simple Jack. No, that's what we got. Simple Jack. He's as basic as it gets. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, I never thought I would be the voice of optimism. I usually leave that to you, but the fact that we're competing without Chase and Montez is encouraging. I'm not here to just compete. You want a participation trophy? You want a gold star? Huh? For competing without Montez and Chase? That's what you want? You want me to punch you on your arm and say, go get him, Tiger? Huh? Great job, buddy. You only lost by a field goal. Is that what you want from me? I don't want to hear about competing without them. Okay? I want them to find a way to win games with a quarterback that is putting you in a position to win games. That's what I want. I don't want to hear anything less than that. I don't want to hear about competing. I don't want to hear about any moral victories, about, oh, man, I thought it was going to be worse. I want them to find a way to get it, which I'm already past that. That's why this group has to go, because I already know what they are. But if you're just excited about the fact that they're competing, then there's a disconnect there. You've set the bar way too low. because I told the mob, if we win this game, I'm going to be impressed. The difference between winning and losing was 3 points. Everything that happened in the game would have happened exactly the same way, except we would have won. And I would have felt totally different about this game because that's a tough environment that they went into today. I expected things to not be perfect, and somehow we were in a position to win this game. That is impressive, but you didn't win, and that's not impressive, and that's not okay. Because it's just like the Bears game. It's just like the Giants game. It's just dressed up differently because Seattle's better. But it's the same shit, different toilet. Close game at the end. It's the Eagles game all over again. Both of the Eagles games. You don't know how to win in these situations. And before, it used to be a player issue. Well, we don't have a quarterback that in these types of moments, he plays his best football and gives us. Well, that's not the case anymore. Because in these moments, our quarterback gives us a chance. Now it's on you as a coaching staff, and it's on the defense. And unfortunately, the staff ain't worth a damn, and the defense ain't either. And I don't mean to be harsh, JLG. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just trying to be real. I'm not here for the participation trophy. I'm not looking for the gold, the gold medal that you give the Pee Wee squad at the end of the season, even though they went 1-7. I'm not looking for that. It's all kinds of red marks on our season right now. X's from games we could have won that we lost, but yet there's still a gold star at the top of the paper. I'm not looking for the gold star. I need green checks, not red X's. We got too many red X's and not enough green checks. And if you're okay with us competing without Montez and Chase, we down bad. We down really bad. Court Casino. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. Peace, King. Likewise. Today is a day that we could have used Chase, Tez, or both. I'd love to know what you think about the D-line going forward. Bless up. I mean, I already told y'all last week what this was going to be. I said, hey, I hope y'all are prepared. This is what the pass rush is going to look like moving forward. Okay? This is what it's going to look like. Unless we're playing against like next week, we're playing against an inferior offensive line and I think Andrew Thomas went down again today. So we won't see him either next week. We're playing against a garbage Giants offensive line. I expect us to get pressure. I expect us to be able to, again, you got to stop the run first. If we can't stop Saquon, that's what they're going to do. They're going to turn around and hand the ball off to him because they damn sure don't want Danny DeVito throwing the ball. So they're going to turn around and hand the bitch off. And if you can't stop Saquon, we in for a long damn day. But if you stop him and you force Danny DeVito to beat us, we should be in good hands next week, right? But outside of games like that, this is what the defense is. I told y'all that last week. I'm like, hey, I hope y'all are prepared because this is what we are. Right now, as a unit, defensively, this is who we are. And it ain't going to get too much better than that because Andre Jones Jr. and KJ Henry aren't saviors. Okay, they're not going to just slide in and get pressure on the quarterback. There's a reason that KJ Henry wasn't active until the trades. There's a reason that Andre Jones Jr. couldn't get on the field. So, look, we desperately need some help. Going Commando. Been a member for 18 months. Who writes, as mad as I was, knowing Sam is him calms me down. It gives you a greater purpose, right? It sucks because you know we're still losing games we're capable of winning. But there, in the back of your mind, you can tell yourself, if we just get the right guys in here, the right coaching staff, the right GM, we get the right players in here, we solve the biggest part of the puzzle. Like, GM is cool, but as Brady just showed you in New England, all that other shit is irrelevant if you don't have a quarterback. All that other shit is irrelevant. You don't have a quarterback, you can kick rocks. I don't care how good you think your roster is. Look at the Jets right now. Jets are 4-4. They've played either 7-1 or 8-0 ball this season. I don't know if they've gotten their ass kicked in any game this season, really. And with better quarterback play, they're probably undefeated right now because their defense is that good, or they're 7-1. But all that shit don't matter. They built this great roster. They went out and signed all these players. They put themselves in the perfect position to win, and the quarterback position is effing them up. We don't have to worry about that. Now, we got to worry about all the other shit. Building a competent roster, getting the right guys to actually pick the players that formulate this competent roster, a good coaching staff. We need all of that shit. Now, so it's easier said than done, but at least we know we got the hardest part of this equation. All of this shit is not easy, okay? All of this shit is not easy. Essentially, what we've done is we've committed the formula to memory. So we know the formula. But you still got to put the numbers in the right place, and you still got to do the math correctly. So still shit left to be done. But the hardest part is committing the formula to memory. Once you figure that part out, okay, I can do some things. And that's what's going to keep us as fans, it's going to keep us sane right now. Because losing games like this feels like insanity. Because it's the same shit over and over again. And we keep coming back every week hoping somehow it's going to be different this week. Well, I'm done with that, with this group, which is why I picked Seattle to win this game. Earlier in the season, when I was still hopeful, when I was still willing to bang my head up against the brick wall and bleed a little bit, I would have picked Seattle, just like the Denver game. I didn't think we were going to beat Denver. I told y'all before the season started we were going to lose to Denver. But I changed my mind because I'm like, I'm all in. I'm willing to bang my head up against the brick wall, and we won. So I did it again the next week, and that's when I started to realize, bro, you got away with it once. Let's not get carried away. I know where we at now. I know what we got. I know what this situation is, and I know what to expect. So I'm not upset. When we lost to the Bears, that was it for me. I'm outside. I'm riding for Sam, and that's it. Anything else that comes along the way, cool. It's extra on top. But just make sure 14 is out here styling and profiling on these clowns. And right now, woo! That's exactly what my man is doing. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I'm not even going to use the fire everybody line today. You know what? Good for you, JP. Good for you. I'm just sick of these losses. This was a measuring stick game, and JDR's trash D blew it. I did feel like there was an opportunity here to kind of gauge where you were. And this is how I expected them to play. I didn't expect Seattle to blow us out. I didn't expect us to blow Seattle out. There were people in the comment section. This is the first game. They put it all together, 27-30. I'm like, what have you watched? What have you seen all season that would allow you to think that there's any 2-score win for this team at any point this season? What has possessed you? What have you seen from this team that would allow you to think that there is even an opportunity for a 2-score win at any point this season? I'm dying to know. We couldn't do it to Arizona. We couldn't even beat the Giants. I get it. Sam's playing better and EB's coming around, but this defense still sucks. What possesses you to think? When I ask you for the scoring more, and I love reading all this stuff because I want to get inside your head. I told you that's that psychology, but I want to know why. What makes you think that it's 27-13 good guys? How? You watched us play New England last week. The Patriots tried to get blown out, and we said, nah, this needs to be close. What makes you think that we can put together 4 quarters? We haven't done it all season long, and show no signs of being able to do this, by the way. What makes you think we can put together 4 quarters of consistent ball without vomiting on ourselves to blow somebody out? I don't know. This was a measuring stick game, and as usual, Jack Del Rio and their defense finds a way to do some things that no other club has done, right? So I heard the stat today that I was waiting on, which was Washington we gave up a field goal on the opening possession of the game. Typical Washington shit. We score a touchdown, take the crowd out of it, and instead of going out and getting a stop, we give up a field goal, right? So the crowd's back in it now. I had multiple third downs, to try to get off the field, and only was able to do it on the final one that forced the field goal. So after they kicked the field goal, they said Washington has now given up XYZ amount of points, worse than the NFL. They've given up the most points on the opening possession of the game in the NFL this season. And I went, okay. I thought that was the case, but it's always good to actually hear it. I just need to know, because I know what I've watched. When I tell people, hey, you scoring on this first possession, I say that for a reason, not because I want to be pessimistic. You guys know I'm an optimistic guy, but I know what I know, and I know what I watch every single week. Anyway. Evman H25. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, this team is going to take 15 years off my life. I mean, I feel like all of us could probably say that. Defense is in shambles. We got a black rain of Troy Apke in our secondary. A regen, excuse me. First of all, we don't know that Troy Apke couldn't tackle. We never ever really gave him a chance. Our problem was he couldn't cover. I don't think we ever gave him a chance to see if he could tackle or not, but I guess that doesn't really not matter now, does it? We got a lot of work to do defensively. I do know that. It feels like this season we took, with the trades of Montez and Chase, because I think most of us expected one of those dudes to go. We didn't expect to keep both of them. To trade both of them kind of felt like negligent almost. But if I really want to build this thing up the right way, and you don't want to pay a guy elite money who you don't think is elite, I think they did the right thing, right? I don't have a problem with it. But we do have to deal with the consequences here and now. And for the crowd that thought, well, we got better with addition by subtraction, hey, good luck with that theory. I'm waiting to see the returns on that investment for you. Barrett Downing, thank you for being a member for 26 months. Looking forward to upgrading the roster at year's end. Me too. I'm anxious to see what they do in free agency. Obviously the first order of business is GM, head coach, et cetera, et cetera. But after that, I'm dying to see what this new GM, what his first moves are going to be. What are the first, fingerprints that he's going to, you can't take that sack, bro. I want to see what the first fingerprints he's going to put on this franchise. That's what I want to see. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we need a new GM now. What is a new GM going to do for you right now? What's that going to do, video channel? What is he going to do? He's going to sign a player off the streets to try to help this? What does a new GM do for you right now versus waiting until January the 6th or whenever the last game is of the season and getting one 2 days after the season's over? I don't understand the difference between getting one now and I'm open to it. I'm not opposed to it. The only thing I'm opposed to is firing Ron at this point. Like firing Ronald, I don't think solves anything right now. So that's about it. I don't really feel like getting rid of Ronald changes anything for us. Maybe it changes the aggressive nature of the next guy that takes over in terms of going for two. I know Jack was aggressive as a head coach. He would go for two all the time in those situations. Game on the line, Jack was like, to hell with that. We're going for two. But I don't want EB with that responsibility. I just want him to focus on, because he's not good enough as a play caller to be, focusing in on being a head coach, an interim head coach, and still calling plays. And I don't want him delegating his responsibility as a play caller to somebody else. So unless you're promoting Jack to head coach, I don't want Ronald fired. It doesn't do anything for me personally. But that's just me. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, outside on steps of the Capitol, I have a dream for Sam. I don't have a dream for Sam. This shit is reality for me. I started a campaign for a reason, right? So for me, it's a reality. It's not a dream.
New Howell order.
Going Commando. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Hate to say it, Lou, but the D needs a complete overhaul. Sad considering how many picks and money went into it. Sam is making this lost season digestible. Facts. Absolutely. Complete overhaul is a bit much. That would mean there's no salvageable pieces defensively. I don't believe that to be the case. So it needs a lot of work. This defense turned into sort of a fixer-upper. It's still in a good neighborhood, and the property value is still good. It's decent, and if you fix it up, it could be something really good. But right now, it needs some work. The last tenants didn't do it any favors, and so you got a lot of work to do on it. But it's still salvageable, and it's still worth something if you get it done. I think there's some pieces in here. There's some good features to the house. I still like Kendall Fuller. I still like the Bama wall inside. I actually think Jamin Davis hasn't been that bad. I think you can do some things with 47. You give the right defensive. I think you can do some things with 47. Juice isn't terrible. I know y'all want to, condemn him and throw him under the stadium, but Juice is fine, right? He is what he is. Understand what he is and utilize him accordingly. I like Defoe. I want to see more of Emmanuel Forbes. I don't think it needs a complete overhaul. I just think there are some things that definitely need to be done. We need 2 defensive ends. We need 2 or 3 linebackers, right? We need another young corner. We probably, and it's crazy because I feel like we've been drafting safeties for the last 3 years. Probably need one of those too. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is the beauty of it. When you have a quarterback, you don't have to rebuild. You can turn this shit over in 1 year and be competitive next year. That's the beauty of this. When you got a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, then shit ain't gonna happen for you. It's gonna take a while. When you got a quarterback, and that's why it is imperative that we figure out like who we gonna marry with Sam. We can't keep, changing coordinators for Sam because he's never gonna be able to take that next step if he can't get with a guy and just be locked in with that coordinator and they in lockstep and they know what each other's thinking and how they're gonna go about business. Frank Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Frank writes, what's up, Lou? Man, I swear we supposed to be 6-3. Yeah. We definitely supposed to be 6-3, but We're not good enough. We're not coached well enough. We don't have a good enough roster. And we haven't made enough plays. We're not mentally tough enough as a team to be 6-3. We don't pay attention to the little details. We don't do the little things correctly. And again, in this league, it's just 1 or 2 plays every game, right? That's the difference between 4-6 and 6-4, or 4-6 and 7-3. But we don't make those little plays. We don't punch the ball out. There was a play on a Kendall Fuller on a pass underneath. They threw it out in the flats. Guy had no idea Kendall Fuller was right there when he turned around. Fuller could have went and punched the ball out, but of course he just went and cut him. And again, it's just little stuff like that where we're not looking to cause damage. We're just looking to get by. Right? DK Metcalf on that last play, he holding that shit like a goddamn Idaho potato. Got the bitch out here like this. Not one dude went after the ball. We concerned with getting his big ass on the ground. Ain't one dude say, man, to hell with all of this bullshit. You want to hold the damn rock like that? I'm going to punch that bitch out your damn hands. Now, a single guy went after the rock. He says, finally, the QB question has been answered. New Howell order. Or I could just do this.
New Howell order.
That's what it's all about. Is getting the quarterback situation squared away, and we've done that. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I put this loss on Ronald. He gave the team Monday and Tuesday off after beating a bad team and Jonathan Allen bringing it up. He should have reminded Jay that they haven't arrived and aren't good enough. Show up Tuesday. I mean, if you want to, if that's the direction you want to go in, I can't argue with you. Right? I don't have a problem with that argument. My argument against that would simply be this. We haven't had real off time since July, since training camp. We have the latest bye possible of any team in the league for the second consecutive year in a row. And even though we've played a Thursday night game and we'll play another one on Thanksgiving, and that gives you some time off, after you get past that bye, it's still grueling on your body. So even those off days don't feel like they're supposed to feel because you still nursing, playing a game 3 days sooner than you would normally play it. So your body never really recovered from the week before. And then you put more, undue pressure on your body and taxed it some more. And so you're still recovering. So you really don't get to enjoy being off. And so if after a win, you want to give the fellas an extra day off, I got no problems with it. No problems with it. But if you don't think they should have had time off, I can't tell you how to feel. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, with no 90 and 99 run talent, Saquon next week will kill us. I am a little nervous, but I said this last week. I'll say it again this week. We actually didn't do too bad stopping the run with just a 4-man front. So, and even though they gave up some stuff this week, I still would tell you that they didn't do that bad of a job in stopping the run this week either. So, I thought Zach Charbonnet got us a little bit, but it wasn't to the point where I'm like, oh man. And I was more concerned about the run defense than I was the pass rush. Clearly, after last week, and I told y'all this, not as concerned with the run defense. I am mortified. I am terrified by the prospects of this pass rush moving forward. And again, Jack's answer is to blitz and bring the house, because he can't scheme up a blitz where he only brushes 4 dudes and still gets home. So his answer has to be, I got to rush 7 guys to be able to get home. And that leaves you vulnerable on the back end if you can't get there. Well, they got there. Like Geno was panicking, and Cam Curl came up the middle both times, unblocked, and Geno had to roll out and throw it away. That's ideal. If you're not going to get to the quarterback, he needs to be uncomfortable from the word go and throw it away. But you can't live that way. We can't live rushing 7 consistently. You can only do that so often, especially with the back end that we have, where one catch and you relying on Percy Butler to tackle somebody. It's game over. We'll see about next week. So Ninja X, been a member for 4 months, who writes, this defense is spare parts, bud. Yikes. Yeah, I told y'all, when I said it, it was going to make sense to y'all. Nobody really wanted to admit this when we traded the 2 of them, because you wanted to be optimistic about it. But the fact of the matter is, when you traded away 90 and 99, you took a lot away from this defense. They weren't elite, but they gave us a fighting chance. Because with them, you still had to pay attention to them enough that 94 and 93 would get one-on-ones a lot. And, they may not have been making the most of them this year, but they're capable. Now, if I'm playing against Washington, 93 and 94 are definitely getting double teamed. Because I'm a dare anybody else to beat me, because I don't think they can. Life is too dope. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, B-Rob played. B-Rob was outstanding today. This was his best game as a pro, and it wasn't even close. And I've been a proponent of B-Rob just getting the ball more. Him just touching it more, just off the strength of, I think he's a playmaker. And I told y'all after last year, I said, let me tell y'all right now, y'all ain't seen nothing with B-Rob. Y'all think y'all seen the best of B-Rob, and this is all he has to offer. He's going to play his ass off this year, because B-Rob is a difference maker. And you're seeing it. And it's a shame that we got to fight for this man to get touches. In a game in which he had over 100 yards receiving and was the star of the show, he still only managed to touch the ball 8 times in the run game. This should have been a 24-touch game for B-Rob, what he was doing in the pass game. No less than 24 to 27 touches. Instead, what was it? 6 catches and 8 carries? Let me double check. 6 catches, 119, 8 carries, 38 yards. So he had over 150 all-purpose yards on 14 touches. So, and I know there was some big explosives in there, but he was averaging 10 yards a touch, and he couldn't get his hands on the football in the run game. Again, make it make sense. Let Sam cook. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I'm outside with Sam for the rest of the season. Tired of people blaming everything on the trades. Firing someone will be the only interesting thing to happen the rest of the season. Hashtag NHO, hashtag him. That's pretty much where we're at now. Is we're going to remain in the mix. Like I said, we won't be eliminated until week 14, 15, 16, something like that. But if you were serious about, and I asked you guys this question on Thursday, what would a win against Seattle on the road mean for you as a fan? And I told you it would be big, but I would have to see that coupled with a win the following week against the Giants to really move me. I in the game, watching this, how it unfolded, I would have changed my mind. I would have been impressed with this, because it was such a tough game, how things were playing out, how we hung in there. But you got to find a way to win these games. We don't do that enough, especially against quality opponents. We don't. Mark Mullinex, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. You see, I watched the Texans today, and I couldn't help but think, I don't want a defensive-minded guy as my coach. Like, I love what the Jets are doing with Robert Saleh. I love what the Texans are doing with DeMeco Ryans. I don't want a defensive-minded guy as my coach. But what I wouldn't give to get one of those guys coaching up my defense. And maybe you got to hire them as your head coach to get them to coach up your defense. But the Texans, you see what they're doing? They went to Cincinnati today. I get it. There were injuries for the Bengals. I don't care. They went to Cincinnati and won. CJ Stroud is the answer. They found their guy, but they also play really good defense. That's all we're missing. Just give me somebody that can coach up some damn defense. Mark Mullinex says, give it up for B-Rob. What a fantastic day for him. Shout out to B-Rob, man. What a day. What an effing day for B-Rob. 14 touches, over 150 yards of total offense, over 10 yards a pop per touch. Divine Do Care. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Divine Do Care writes, I don't care. We still need a wide receiver 1. No separation. I don't know. Like some of y'all, like that's the last. Like if you complain about a wide receiver 1 right now with what Sam is doing, like you so far off base. Like that's the least of our worries right now. Don't like. I hope you understand that. Like that's the kind of stuff you complain about when you got all the other shit fixed, and now you sitting with picks and you got luxury picks, right? We're not in that position. Like we're not in a position to be worried about a true number 1. I think we got one already, but that conversation don't even exist right now for me. We got so much other shit to worry about. When Sam needs a completion, he knows how to find 17. At the end of the game, when we needed it, where did he go? Both times. All right. We good over there. I'm not really too concerned about that. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, another game where the offense gets stagnant and comes back to life late. Add a cornerback to the list because juice ain't it. 2018 defense is back. Unwatchable. Yeah, we close to being in that same, that 2018 defense couldn't get off the field on third downs, though. That's not what this group is. So I can't necessarily co-sign that comment, but it's tough. It's a tough watch. I'll admit. It's a tough watch. Charles Jackson. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Charles, so glad to have you on board. Mob, y'all know what it is. Show Charles some love. Welcome him with open arms. Look forward to chopping it up with you. So that tackle that Percy had a chance to make would have been at the 35. Would have made it a 53-yard field goal instead of a 43-yard field goal. But again, we don't do the little things, right? We don't do the little things. DJ23. And they just showed a shot of Sam on the sidelines with his arms folded, just looking like, damn, right? Sort of like Baker Mayfield last week when they lost to the Texans, where you did everything you could do, and the defense let you down. I just for once would like to see the coaching staff just say, "Hey, I believe in you. I'm going for 2 right here." But that's not our staff. So, double up. Thank you for doubling up, DJ. 23 who writes, every week a different EB shows up. Jekyll and Hyde. That's where we're at right now. We're struggling with the consistency piece. Before I can commit to him long term, I just need to see what this is gonna look like. And again, he's new in the game too. Like I have to keep reminding myself of that. Like he's new in the game too. So he's learning, but I need him to speed up the curve a bit. DJ23 writes, first pick, tackle, try to trade up and get an end. I'm not looking to give up draft capital. We need too much stuff to be giving up picks. Unless there's something elite falling down draft boards and you're like, man, we got to have this dude. I think you just need to make selections where, like, that's the mark of a good GM. Like, make the selections where you at. You know, if you trade back, pick up some picks, cool. If you got a bunch of picks, you got a surplus, and you can afford to, package up some picks and go get a guy, so be it. Go ahead, do your thing. I don't want to put a cap on the next GM. I want him to have the freedom to do whatever it is he feels like he needs to do. But we need a lot of shit. So I don't think trading up, packaging up picks is the smartest thing to do. Kevin the PRF says the early supers are in. Thank you for that. And he says, welcome the newest member. Likewise. Let's see what we got here. All right. So we didn't miss many of this week. Key himself. All right. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes 6-11 season, shaking my head. Slay, Ron, Jack, gotta go. I could see 6-11. I could see that happening. I still think it's 7-10 personally, but I could see 6-11. That's as low as I see it going. 6-11. Rob you, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Rob? Another tough one. I'm usually concerned about the tackles weekly, but the interior O-line got work today, and long snapping is still an issue. Yeah, the interior was a little bit sketchy today. I thought the Seahawks, which is a very quick front, I thought they, and it wasn't like the Cosme got beat on one of them, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we just benched Nick Gates for this shit. Like, you don't know how to pass off a stunt? Pass him off to Wiley and pick this looping end around up. Like, what are we doing? Like, that shit is so avoidable. Like, the stupidest, simplest shit. Like, we just not doing. Like, that's the shit I can't, like, that shit don't compute for me. Like, I can't wrap my brain around that. Thanks for those supers. Really appreciate you, Kevin the PRF, as always. Ricky D. Hustle. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, fire Ron after the Dallas game, promote EB for the rest of the season, start over with Sam as QB1 next year, new GM, new DC, OC mastermind as the head coach. We got $90 million for a GM, NHL. Easier said than done, because it's still a dynamic that has to be in place. You still got to figure everything out, make sure that it all fits together, it all makes sense for you. So we'll see what happens, man. So it's a long time before we get to those type of decisions. As long as they don't get blown out in any game, like if they get embarrassed on Thanksgiving by Dallas, he could be fired. It still makes the most sense to just wait until the bye week, the following week against Miami. But if we get embarrassed on Thanksgiving, and it's very possible that could in fact happen. I don't think Sam will allow it to, but if that defense of Dallas is able to sink their teeth into him and he can't save us, they're going to carve up our defense. So if it gets ugly on Thanksgiving in front of the world again, it could be it for Ronald. Life is too dope. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. He's definitely gone after this, man. He's definitely gone. 16 double dot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, there's going to be some good tight ends available in free agency, and Brian Burns. If we can sign both, we can focus on other positions of need in the draft. Hashtag NHO. Well, first of all, is Brian Burns on a franchise tag this year or not? I don't remember. Can they do it again? Are they in a position to do it again? I don't know. I don't even know if he's going to be a free agent. But he would be awesome. He's exactly what you need. But are you willing to pay what it's going to take to get Brian Burns on your football team? And you just avoided doing that with Tez and Chase. Are you really looking to spend that kind of bread? on the edge, maybe you are. You know, maybe you're willing to do that. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. As far as the tight ends are concerned, we'll see. You know, I'm more along the lines of you can find an athletic tight end in the draft. You don't have to go out and spend bread. Like that's why none of these tight ends got paid this year. Dalton Schultz and Mike Gesicki, none of them boys got paid. They all had to take 1 year prove-it deals because why am I going to pay you big money when I can just go find one of these young boys in the draft? Hell, we got to do undrafted in Amani Rodgers that I really feel like would have been great in this offense under EB. He would have been eaten big time. So unfortunate that he didn't get to play this year because I don't know if he'll get to experience EB. EB would have definitely utilized the hell out of Amani Rodgers. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. I'm not the only one noticing our guys struggle against man coverage. Sam will throw for 4K. He has 7 games to throw 13 touchdowns to get to 30. Will he do it? We'll see. Only time will tell. It's not just man coverage that they struggle. It's sticky man coverage. It's physical man coverage. I talked about Jahan Dotson. Go back and watch my Jahan Dotson video when he was coming to the NFL. I said the biggest thing he struggles with is physicality, which is why they need to be putting him in motion. Like there's ways to avoid this shit. They just don't do it. Stacks and bunches, motions. There's ways to make sure that you can't get a hand on Jahan Dotson, but they're not doing that for real. Right. And if he can't be at the front of a bunch because you can still jam him. You got to be at the back of the bunch or a stack. And they don't seem to be putting him in the best situations to succeed. I don't think, at least, but that's nor here nor there. I've always been a proponent of if you want to get guys the ball, you can get them the ball. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. The D letting Sam down again, shaking my head. But we got our guy. B-Rob was a monster today. Was he ever? And Forbes' ejection was some baby back bullshit. JDR needs to go ASAP. Also, a Diami clutch TD on to New York. Hashtag NHO. Hashtag HTTC. How about that for Diami? I don't think anybody's brought that up. I haven't brought it up. How about Diami with a big catch and run? He had a big third down catch on a slant that nobody brought up. Sam put that ball exactly where it had to be because their corner literally yanked Diami by the jersey and pulled himself into the play, but Sam put it in the only place he could put it where that defender didn't have a chance, and that was low and away. And Diami went and got it. And then Diami climbing the ladder, going, and then everybody loved this shit on Diami. He ain't fast. Well, he turned on the burners on their ass and cooked everybody and got into the end zone when we needed it the most. So shout out to Diami, man. I'm happy for him. He's been looking for an opportunity. He got it, and he made the most of it, finally. Evman H25. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, who writes. Ron just said in the post-game presser that he didn't go for 2 because there was too much time on the clock. Cheeseman needs to start learning Chinese. Of course he would say that. Of course he would say what difference does it make? You still lost the game. I'm a proponent of you go for 2 because you're putting that game pressure on Seattle. Right? You're putting that game pressure on them. See how they operate down 1 versus a tie ball game. And there's a downside to going for 2 and not getting it. You lose. Right? I'm aware of this. I'm willing to take that chance. What I really don't want to do is play extra football. I'm really not looking to do that. So whether we get it or we don't, or it's too much time, I'm trying to have this game end in regulation. What I don't want to do is I don't want to play more football after this. I don't. I'm ready to go home. Win, lose. I don't want to draw. Let's go home. That would be my mindset. That's Dan Campbell's mindset. I don't want to play extra football. Not looking to do that. He wasn't looking to do that against Kansas City. He wasn't looking to do that shit today. Dan Campbell ain't never looking for overtime. He's searching for a way that he can win in regulation. Overtime is for suckers. Suckers and those who don't believe. Eli, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Eli writes, we need a pass game coordinator. Wide receivers ain't cutting it. I got to watch the film. I think it's so easy to put the blame on the receivers. Or I think your point is you need to be able to develop a better plan against the team that we're playing against to attack. And you may not be wrong about that, because I just felt like there was too many instances where we were running, again, like early in the season, we were complaining 3rd and 5 and we running 11-yard routes. Make it make sense. But a pass game coordinator wouldn't hurt. That's for damn sure. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, where's Waldo? I mean, Cole Turner. He a commander? Yeah. I don't know what he's done to the staff and why they, don't see any value in him, but they don't. And Cole, while he's shown me some things in the preseason, I'd really like to see if he got more opportunities, what he'd do with it. Because every time I've seen him get opportunities, he's made the most of them. But I'm not watching him in practice every day. I don't, and if you're going to be on the roster on game day, you got to block. And clearly he's not great at that either. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason why he's not up. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, that fumble can't discourage Sam from running. And I don't think it will. I always worry about him when he makes a mistake, the overreaction to that mistake, and how mentally it might impact him. Last week, he throws the pick, and then he goes to the opposite end of the spectrum, and he then decides, I got to throw it away. So he starts reprogramming his brain. I got to throw it away, instead of trying to make something happen. I don't want him to ever lose his edge, but I also do want him to protect himself too. Like, all right, bro, you got the first down. And at one point I was like, all right, Sam, slide. And he was like, nah, bro, I can do this. I can put my shoulder down. And he got more yards. But at some point, is it worth it? And what I don't want him doing is sliding like before, like right as he's getting to the sticks and it's short. Like, I don't want him doing that. I also don't want him sliding at the last minute, because if you slide at the last minute and a dude comes in and hits you, that's how you get a concussion. So, like, there's a fine line. If you're going to slide, you got to slide early. I just need him to protect himself in the ball, Commander 17, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Commander 17 writes, Lou, everything you're saying is true. We got enough money and draft picks to rebuild quickly because we got the QB. Just got to get the GM and coaches right. And again, that's
new Howell order.
Half the battle. It's getting the QB, and we got that. So now we just got to fill in all the other blanks. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, 14 is a mother effer. We got one, Lou. Hashtag NHL.
New Howell order.
And to add to that, ain't nothing for me to add to that. Jay Hunter Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, we need a run game coordinator. And you mentioned the third quarter. Other teams adjust at halftime, and we can't adjust until the fourth quarter. I don't know what it is about the third quarter in particular, but we just struggle in that quarter. And for whatever reason, we don't make the necessary adjustments to the fourth quarter. It happened in the Giants game where we didn't adjust until the fourth quarter. It happened in this game where we didn't adjust to the fourth quarter. Now, we did adjust against the Patriots. We did tie that game up in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the third quarter. The Giants game, we scored the touchdown at the very end of the third quarter, and we didn't score again in the fourth quarter. But the third quarter, for whatever reason, most of the third quarter is usually like towards the end of the third quarter where we start to wake up. I don't know what it is, why we can't be more effective, right out of the gates, or why we can't pick up where we left off in the first half if we had a really good first half, like, the first two games against Philadelphia or the game against Atlanta, where we had extraordinary first halves, and then for whatever reason, the third quarter was just non-existent for us. Court Casino, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Q Sir Mix-a-Lot. Hire Steve Wilks and keep EB. I struggle with that pairing because Steve Wilks is a run first type of dude, so he might not be too fond of EB's play calling and style. And you would think, and I can't say this, but you would think eventually EB would get a job. And so you would be right back to square one, right? Which is why I don't want a defensive-minded coach, but that might be what we need. A defensive-minded dude, and just leave EB here. Nobody wanted him before, so don't want him now, right? But I don't know. That's why I said this is such a complex situation with so many moving parts. That's why we could talk about it right now all we want, but nothing's going to actually happen until we get to that point where something has to happen. Chris, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Chris writes, you got to like what Slowick is doing with Stroud, another Kyle disciple. How about them Texans? No, I don't like what Bobby Slowick is doing with I love what he's doing with CJ Stroud. Okay. There's a difference. Liking and loving is two different things. I love the movement. That's a Kyle staple to boot to your left and throw back to your right. How many times is Noah Brown going to be wide open doing that shit, right? Yeah. HTTC. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. I'm sorry, but number one, Ron doesn't even know how to ice a kicker properly. Number two, we can't compete under Ron's leadership. What moves would you make this offseason? I mean, that's a long conversation, and there's a lot of shit that I would do that there's a lot of shit that I would do that I would have done. That's irrelevant now. We'll talk about all that stuff when we get to the offseason. The first thing I would do, obviously, is find the GM. Right? Fire everybody. That's the first thing I'm doing. Fire everybody. Right now, EB is still auditioning, and I'm leaning towards just leaving him alone. Like, hey, he comes along with the package. If you don't want him, then this ain't the job for you right now, because it's all about Sam. And EB is the best thing for Sam right now, even though I'm frustrated with EB's unwillingness to be consistent with the run. Him and Sam still have synchronicity, and they're still growing together. So I might make that a part of the package, but I don't know. I may not. I might get to the end of the season. I'm done. I can't do this shit with EB. And I'm just like, hey, let the GM figure out all this shit. Sam is the only thing that is a non-negotiable. Lorenzo Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes, 26 is Castro Fields, Juice is 25. Did I call him 26? When I said 26, I must have said 26 covering 14. 25. You knew who the hell I was talking about. But yeah, you're right. I need to make sure I get that right. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ethan writes, get JDR's imitation dollar store vanilla ass out of here, man. Our blitzes are so god-awful. Also, our receivers haven't been as good this season. Still, hashtag NHL, though. Well, part of why they haven't been as good is because they're not being showcased. They're not being put in positions to get them the football as consistently. But again, I also think too, part of the reason why they have been, Sam has been so good is because those guys do take attention away from the others, and Sam is getting the football to the others. So it's a give and take with that. But I still think when you got a receiver like Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson, you got to find ways to target them. I've already said they had a total of 10 targets today. Terry had 8, Jahan had 2. I think Terry ended the game with like 4 or 5 catches. Jahan had 0 catches today. Like, that's inexcusable. Inexcusable. Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, felt like the 2022 Vikings loss. False resurrection continued. This feels way different than that, because we had already won 3 in a row before that Vikings loss. We haven't even strung together a win streak this season, other than the first 2 wins of the season. We haven't won 2 games in a row since weeks 1 and 2. So you can't even say that this feels like the 2022 Vikings loss. We had already won 3 in a row, and then after that Vikings loss, we won 3 more. We're not even close to that. That game was at home. We were leading most of that game, and then we blew it. This wasn't that, you know. I disagree with this feeling like the Vikings lost last year. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. Hope you're right. Hope the false resurrection isn't over yet, because it kind of feels like it is. This felt like it. This needed to be the 3-game win streak right here. And then beat the Giants next week, and that was your 3. And then you just go from there. Then had you lost to Dallas, that could have felt like the Vikings loss, because you won 3 in a row, and you could still go win another 3 after that against opponents that, like the Dolphins, the following week after losing to Dallas, could have felt like the Eagles game. Like, there's no way we're beating the Dolphins, and then you go beat them. But that's not where we're at right now. And I don't think that's where we're going to be at all at any point this season. Be right. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, JDR doesn't know how to take the opponent's best player away. No, he doesn't. Seems like, at least. Like, you would think that there would be more of an attention to detail. But they got 3 receivers, though. So credit to them. Credit to them. But it's hard to take away DK and Lockett. But they didn't kill us. I don't think either one of them went over 100 yards. DK might have come close with some of the catches at the end of the game. But I don't think they killed us. Okay, DK had 7 for 98. And Lockett had 8 for 92. So never mind. Never mind. I stand corrected. Both of them almost had 100 yards receiving. You'd like to do a little bit better job on them, considering DK had 7 for 98 and he got targeted 12 times. And Tyler Lockett had 6 for 92 and he was targeted 10 times. You'd like to do a better job, but such is life. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ethan writes, Brown on Brown crime. Really, Sanchez? Laughing my ass off. I missed that one. I missed the Brown on Brown crime. So somebody named Brown must have been covering him and he scored. But I missed that one. There was a lot going on at that time. William Rogers Jr., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what positions would you attack via the draft versus free agent market? I'd have to look at the free agent market. I don't want to lie to you and tell you I would do this or do that, because I haven't taken a look at free agency. You know, my mind isn't wired that way. We're in season. I'm just focused on the next, game and how we can find a way to make the playoffs. That's where I'm at with mine. So, and I'm focused in on Sam and his development. So I can't even give you that, because somebody said earlier that there's a lot of tight ends and edge rushers and whatnot available in free agency. And if that's the case, you may be able to shop there and not need one as early in the draft or whatever the case may be. But you got to take a look at that stuff and see what's a smart investment. Guy has to be the right age. I know Danielle Hunter right now is leading the NFL in sacks, but he's 30 years old. Are you really trying to invest big money into a 30-year-old defensive end? I'm not. You know what I'm saying? So it's got to make sense from a number of different angles. Diggity Dank. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Diggity Dank. Thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB. Look forward to chopping it up with you, Mob. You know what to do. Welcome, Diggity Dank, to the squad. Glad to have you on board. Spence Khalees, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Spence Khalees, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, we have no game breakers on D. Pass rush sucks. It hurts me to admit that right now because we still got Payne and Allen, but they're not playing at a high enough level. And I could keep going with the excuse of, oh, they're getting double teamed, but they're not getting double teamed on every snap. And they're not making a huge difference in the game. So not big enough, at least, if you ask me. So a little frustrated there, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Daniel Moore, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, y'all know what to do. Show Daniel some love. Welcome to the squad, Daniel Moore. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, Washington opponent points, I guess. Quarter 1, 36-57. Quarter 2, 61-88. Quarter 3, 45-34. Quarter 4, 75-95. So this is correct. We're actually the differential is the best for us in the third quarter, which seems surprising because we seem to not do anything. But you know what also might skew this too is that's the quarter we're not giving up a bunch of points in, but we're not doing as much either. Because if you look at all these quarters outside of the first quarter, that's our lowest scoring quarter. We're just not giving up as many points in that particular quarter. So it makes it look a little bit better. But I can tell you in the games that we had a chance to win against better opposition, like the Eagles, for instance, we struggled in the third quarter in both of those games for the most part. We struggled in the third quarter again today. And you know, sometimes too, we'll struggle for the whole quarter and then we'll score at the very end, like the Giants game, for instance. We struggled the whole third quarter. And then we scored at the very end of the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Either the very end of the third quarter. I think Terry had the catch, and he was touched down. So we might have scored in the fourth quarter. I don't remember which was which. Had we already scored, and then Terry had that catch, and we could have tied it up? I think we had already scored. And Terry had that catch, and he was tagged down, and we ultimately went. We kicked a field goal. We settled for a field goal, and it got blocked. But all in all, it's surprising to hear that the third quarter is actually our best differential. But when you look at how we start games, we've given up the most points on opening possessions. We know we're not going to win the first quarter. We don't start fast. We've given up the most points before half. They showed that stat today. So that's not going to bode well for us in the second quarter. And the third quarter, we don't score a lot, but we may not be giving up a lot. I feel like some of those drives in the third quarter are a lot longer too. So it's not as many possessions, but that's interesting because I thought the third quarter, it feels different. Feels like it's way worse, but that's interesting stuff. Thank you for that metaphor. Spence Khalees, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Can we please build a D like the Jets, please? Easier said than done. Easier said than done to build a defense like the Jets. I would love to see it happen. It's just it's not, and then you got to develop the talent too. It's one, like, we had talent. I don't think we did a good enough job of developing that talent, of putting that talent in positions to succeed. So I think there's also that part of it too. Because you're not going to tell me that Montez Sweat and Chase Young aren't talented. That's what you're not going to do. So I think there's talent. You just got to do a better job of developing it too. But you also got to pick better players. You know, we haven't always done the best job of that. Will Kavanaugh, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Will writes, Lou, I'm 32. I wonder what rooting for a winning football team feels like. I may never know, sadly. I always feel for fans like yourself who's never really seen this team win anything of note. That's tough. Because a lot of us, you know, a lot of fans don't know what it's like to be 7-2 in a season. You just don't know what that's like, because we're never in that position. You don't know what it's like to be considered one of the best teams in football. You don't know what a real big time primetime game feels like. So that's tough. You'll get it one day. You just got to hang around long enough. JDR, situational defense, is a situational comedy, a sitcom. I see what you did there. Washington football fan WGIL. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, what happens in the locker room after losses? Well, the locker room after a loss is a sad place to be most times. It's quiet. Especially losses like this, I bet you that locker room was dead silent. You know, a lot of self-reflecting. What could I have done more? It's a lot of that. If you've played sports, you just know after a tough loss, a lot of times you just sit there and think, what could I have done? You know? And that's what usually happens. You know, take another sack. Boy, you trying to make sure y'all lose this game. That's a stupid-ass sack. The coach, you know, all you can do is you talk to the team and you tell them, hey, that's a good team over there, but you can't make XYZ mistakes and expect to win, or you can't do this. And then, you know, I see you guys on whatever day, and we got to get back to work. We still, you know, you got to encourage them and tell them, hey, we still got 7 games left. Everything that we want is still in front of, like, you still got to dangle the carrot in front of their face. But, and these guys, the good thing about players is they don't think like fans. Okay. They don't think about, oh man, we lost this game. We 4-6. The Vikings are X, Y. They not thinking about none of that shit. They live in a world that is, okay, next team, we got the Giants this week. Let's go find a way to beat the Giants, and then we'll see what happens after that. A lot of these dudes don't even know what the schedule looked like past Thanksgiving. Like, you can't ask a lot of these dudes who we play after the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They don't know. And the only reason they know about the Cowboys game is because it's Thanksgiving, right? A lot of these dudes can't tell you past the next 2 games on the schedule. So it's not hard to get dudes to buy in and to believe about we can still right the ship. It's just, it gets tougher and tougher with every loss. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, we need a Nate Orchard-like signing to help this D-line, LOL. You know, it's funny. I thought about that because somebody was like, we need a new GM. I'm like, what that new GM going to do? What he going to do? Go sign Nate Angry Apple Orchard? You know, that's funny you brought him up. Colton Wheeler. That's a bad spot. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Let's see if he gets this. If we don't get Mayo off the bleeping football field, I'm going to lose my mind. And again, he hasn't been that bad, honestly speaking. I got the first down. And he can only do what they ask him to do, you know. But this is the thing. When you don't this is a roster problem that he's even on the field. You know, this isn't a scheme or any. This is a roster issue. If we lose to the Giants, Barry Curtis Jr., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. I feel like it's way more than that for you, but I don't know if I said it the last time. If we lose to the Giants, does Ron and Jack get another week? I don't think we will. Just if they should be fired on the spot if we lose to the Giants next week. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. I can't take another loss to the Giants, not with the state of their franchise the way it is right now. I don't want to just beat them next week. I want to embarrass them next week. If we eke by the Giants and we win, I still want to fire. Like that's as good as a loss next week. Like it's that bad right now with the Giants. They suck. And if you can't tattoo their ass, then what are we doing right now? We literally need to make changes. What are we doing right now? Will Kavanaugh, been a member for 12 months. NHO. Sam is him.
New Howell order.
Spence Collis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, salvageable, Lou? This D needs Bob Vila. You're showing your age there. No. There are pieces that are salvageable on this defense. Okay? There are pieces that are salvageable. So, no. I don't. I'm standing on what I said earlier. It needs a lot of work, but you can definitely salvage this defense by building off of some of the pieces that already exist. It's not a total loss where you just say, hey, I'm better off selling the property or knocking the whole building down and building it up from the ground. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, Lou, 4 effing years of investing resources on this defense. For what? To be the 30th in the league? Ron's 3 out of 4 first-round picks have been wasted so far. Wasted picks so far. Sick of saying this, but JDR got to go. Yeah, no, there's no denying the disappointment in the investments made on the defensive side of football. It's hard for me to say that Emmanuel Forbes is a wasted pick. To me, that's asinine to say that. Jamin Davis, I think he's starting to come into his own, right? I don't think he'll ever live up to the first-round billing, but I think he could be a damn good linebacker. You can get a lot out of Jamin. And as far as Chase Young, obviously he's not here anymore, but some of that was circumstantial too. The injury really did a number on any chance of him, being what we thought he could be. But, there was some shit with Chase too. And at the end of the day, this is why you need a GM. Somebody has to answer for the roster being in the state that it's in right now. And it can't be the same person that's the head coach. We have to separate that. And I think by getting a GM and having him, preside over that is big. Because even though Ron technically wasn't in charge of the roster, we had a GM. Ron's voice was just as loud, if not even more loud, than the GM himself, because Ron was responsible for the GM being here. So I just think you need to separate that, church and state. Jay Hunter Lee, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, it's embarrassing to have 2 defensive-minded coaches in Ron and Jack, and his defense plays like this. New Howell order.
New Howell order.
You're not wrong. I think that's been the problem, especially with linebacker in particular. 2 guys that played linebacker in this league, and yet you can't find linebackers, you should be the guys that are the most likely to be able to find a 6th or 7th round or undrafted linebacker that can come in here and make a difference. Font JD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Font JD, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, I think we've all seen enough. Get a new GM in place now to get a jump start on talent evaluation. But that's not going to change nothing, because here's the thing. If you bring in a new GM and he comes in here, you still got the same scouts. You can't fire them and bring in new scouts. The area scouts still, more likely than not, the area scouts from Ron and company are going to be the same dudes you're going to be relying on this year for the draft, because they've been doing the work all year long. You can't fire them and bring in new dudes who ain't been on the road all year. So you're going to, like, that ain't changing nothing. Like, a lot of y'all don't really know how the operation works. So y'all just thinking change is going to happen and it's going to immediately pay off dividends. That's why I was like, it don't really make a ton of sense to start moving on from dudes. You know, the GM is the only one that makes even remotely sense, because at least you can, I think you are able to start talking to somebody's assistant GM. Like, that's not hurting a team's franchise. But like, you can't talk to somebody's offensive coordinator during the season. They got a job to do that, like, literally impacts them that week. An assistant GM, I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's got a job to do, but it ain't impacting the day-to-day operation. Like, whether they win on Sunday against Indianapolis isn't impacted by you talking to the assistant GM. But I don't know how that works in terms of what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. So, Font JD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I'm not okay with 99 taking shots at us, but it's interesting how he pointed out the difference in coaching styles in San Fran. Details. Oh, and he looked pretty happy today. I told y'all. I mean, you seen the first press conference. He was back to we couldn't even get the out of him no more. The happy that he used to give us. It's just a different feeling, man. He was back to smiling. He was the happy-go-lucky Chase again. He wasn't happy here, and I knew why he wasn't happy, and that was okay. I'm not mad at him. I ain't glad at him, but at the end of the day, it needed to happen. That divorce needed to happen. And he's not wrong about the organization. It just doesn't benefit him or us to say anything bad about the other. But listen to what I'm about to say to you. Hurt people hurt people. Okay. Roquan Smith, he ain't been on the Bears in over a year, and he's still taking shots at the Bears. Why? Because hurt people hurt people. They hurt him. That shit hurt him. So anytime he gets to take a shot at the Bears organization, he's going to do it. He's going to take that shot. That's how Chase feels about us. All right. Lorenzo Simpson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lorenzo writes, my guy Zoe says, wasn't in the chat, but after we scored, I did think we were going to get a stop. But no, but I have to believe that they can pull through. I didn't think we were going to get a stop. Nothing about what I had seen in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter, or from the defense last week against New England, nothing suggested that we were poised to get a stop. Nothing. The one stop that I thought we could get was the 4th and 5, and they called us for PI. That was the one that I did think we could get. After we didn't get that one, I lost all confidence in the defense at that point. Jahan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, is Jahan starting to scar you? Should we be proactive this offseason towards the wide receiver position? And is Chris P showing Pro Bowl upside to you? No. Pro Bowl, no. Absolutely not. Jahan is fine. I don't worry about Jahan. Excuse me. Now, I will say, anytime I see a drop by a receiver, I'm not going to lie to you, the first person I think it is Jahan. So when Jamison Crowder had that drop on the sidelines on that last drive, the first person I said was, who was that? Was that Jahan? And then my wife was like, nah, it was Crowder. I was like, okay. All right. Now that, I will say, has changed. I never would have thought it would be him. But, you know, I'm human. What can I say? But, no, I'm fine on, like, again, players are, so Jahan isn't Jamar Chase. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not independent of scheme, okay? He's really good. But a good scheme can take him away, or the lack of a good scheme can take him away, if that makes sense. He's not just you one-on-one, go win. I'm a dog. You know, you a dog, go win. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that. He can win against one-on-one, but it's not. And I talked about that. Michigan, in his final year at Michigan, or at Penn State, they played against Michigan, and Michigan was physical. They were really good defense that year. And they took Jahan Dotson away because they were physical with him. Anyway, I think Chris Paul is playing well. He's not playing at a Pro Bowl level. Heck no. Nobody on this offensive line is. Ken L, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ken L writes, what's up, Louie? Love the channel. I appreciate that, Ken. Says, does Cam Curl still deserve a bag after this year's performance? I still think he's one of those guys that is worth salvaging. I talked about this defense has pieces that are salvageable. He's one of those pieces. You know, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Cam Curl, Jamin Davis, Defoe. Oh, hold that ball, boy. Hold that ball, boy. Woo! I saw that shit coming because they dogs in New York. They go after the rock. Woo! Woo! Come on, man. What you doing, Josh? Scare me like that. How I know they was coming after the ball? Because the Jets dogs. That's why. If that was us, we looking to wrap up right there. Anyway, I digress. I still think so. A bag, he does deserve the bag. How big is the bag is the question. How big is the bag? We'll see. We'll see how big that bag is. I think he should be here. That's what I'm going to say. Font JD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, he's not Mayo. He's Miracle Whip. Hey, look, man. All I can tell you is Mayo killing us on some lyrical shit. He ain't no mayonnaise colored Benz. And he damn sure ain't no Miracle Whip. I can tell you that right now. But he beats poor. It can be worse. I know a lot of y'all don't think so, but it can be worse. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, bro, Logan got hands on my guy is like a train. Take forever to stop. Oh, he said, bro, Logan got hands, but my guy's like a train. Takes forever to stop. He can't cut up the field after a catch. Boy just lets his momentum kill him. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is exactly how I feel like Logan moves. We really need to upgrade in athleticism at the tight end position, but again, what's it worth to you? Some of y'all keep screaming Brock Bowers, and I'm like, nah, I'm good on that. It's got to be other tight ends in college football that can run, that are athletic. Again, you can find a Mark Andrews in the third round. George Kittle was a second or third round. Travis Kelce was a third rounder. Like, you can find them in the third round. You don't have to find them in the first round for them to be ultra effective. Font JD, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, better all-around coaching would be worth 3 to 7 points a game. Facts. I said this to somebody online, on socials last week or 2 weeks ago. You give me Andy Reid, and I would say Andy Reid and Spags, but I don't even need Andy Reid. Just give me Spags as a defensive coordinator, and I guarantee you we're no worse than 6-4 this year, if not 7-3. Just give me Spags. Even with Ron's F-ups and, indecisiveness and, all that shit, give me Spags, and I bet you this defense is good enough that we would have won games against teams like Philadelphia and Chicago and the Giants. And this game, you win those games with better coaching, better defensive coordinators. They can get the most out of their players. Ricky D. Hustle, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, my apologies, Lou. For what? What you apologizing for? What up? Defense isn't bad or good, just no playmakers or game changers. EB needs a run coordinator. 14 carries isn't enough. I mean, you can have a run game coordinator, but that don't mean he's going to call them, right? Like, all a run game coordinator does is they set up the run game. They put it in place. They give you a plan that you can utilize that week for the game. And they set up the overall scheme of the run game. Same with the pass game coordinator. They set up the concepts that you're going to run, and then they determine what concepts will work best that particular week for the opponent that you're playing within the scheme that you run. Get out of there, man. Let's go. That's my boy, Michael Mayer. Hell yeah. Hell, we need one of them. He just went top shelf. Anyway, I don't know if that's going to change what EB's calling on the sheet. That's the thing, is you can have a run game coordinator. That doesn't mean he's going to call more runs. It might change the type of runs that he calls. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Right. Did I miss JP calling for everyone to get fired? You didn't. JP said he wasn't going to do that tonight, and he didn't. I'm proud of him. That's called growth. I'm going to say that him getting married to his wife has changed him. Nah, I can't say that. I just think he's like at the point now where it's all good. I know it's going to be changed at the end of the season, so I ain't tripping no more. Rail Goated, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rail Goated, right? Sam was so happy after that Diami touchdown. We let him down. Yeah, I mean, shit happens. I mean, I watched Baker do the same thing last week and then be dejected on the sideline when CJ Stroud took him down for the touchdown. It happens because it's out of your hands at that point. You did everything you could do. Now, us losing the game ain't in your control, right? You don't have, like, you would much rather have the ball in your hands because at least you control the outcome. That's why I struggle with shit that I can't control. I'm such a control freak. So when I'm not in, that's why I don't like betting on like football, like sports in general. I don't like betting people. I bet you won't bet. Nah, for what? I don't control this shit. I like to bet on stuff that I control the outcome of. You won't beat me in spades. You won't beat me in Super Smash Brothers. Like, that's the shit I bet on. I used to bet on Madden all the time. Why? I control this shit. And Sam sitting on the sidelines, he ain't got no control over that. He did his part. That shit hurts. Frankie, yo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member for 19 months. Only bag any defender deserves this year is that Wendy's $5 biggie bag. Like, that's all. Hey, stop, Frankie, yo, man. Stop, man. Chill out, man. Chill. J-Mart. J-Mart, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Hey, every time Breeze touched that thing and get going, I was like, We need one of them. Let me get one of them. Georgetown, Commanders, and Wiz all fail to execute late in the game. At the end of the day, coaches coach, but players got to play. 3 bad losses. Hashtag WTF. Hashtag FML. You're not wrong. You got to execute. Players got to execute, and they got to make plays at the end of the day. And, coaches can only do so much. They can only, they call the play, and then you got to execute. And you'll hear players a lot of times take responsibility for, something going awry because they didn't do their job. But a lot of times it's less about players, it's more about the coaches putting players in. And again, coaches can only do so much. But you telling me at the end of the game, I'm gonna just let DK Metcalf, when I know they need a field goal, I'm just let him run a simple, skinny. I'm gonna call that like a slant. I'm just let him run a slant and not have anybody be near him, and let him run after the catch. Like, yeah, I know you telling me that players got to play, but that's the answer. You're not gonna bracket DK Metcalf in the most important part of the game. You're not gonna bracket him. You're not gonna make sure that he's not the one that catches and runs after the catch. I mean, I hear you. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat American writes, bright side of all this, I got me Santana Moss, B. Mitch, and JP Finley last night at the bar. I saw you post that, and I had my daughter in my hand, and I couldn't type to ask you where did you meet them. And then by the time she wasn't in my hands no more, I forgot to ask. So that's pretty cool, man, that you met all of them at the bar, man. That's dope. I fanboyed meeting Moss, man. Such a cool dude. They all signed my UPS work shirt. Cool experience. That's dope. Don't watch that one. Hopefully it ain't super musty. Don't watch that one. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, I told Moss that him, CP, and Sean T were the bright spots of my fandom growing up and the reason I became a diehard. He said he appreciated it and gave me a handshake and a bro hug. That's what's up, man. And, he's heard that a million times, but it never gets old for him. He never gets tired of hearing that. Jado, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Zach. Boy, Zach been doing a good job of getting out of that pocket tonight. What up, Jay? What up, Lou? What up, Jay? Says tough loss, but it's NHO. And that's at the end of the day.
New Howell order.
If you don't know, now you know. It's NHO. We out here, man. We out here. And so, yeah, it was a tough loss. I expected this tough loss. But you know what I had told y'all? I wanted to see how Sam would handle what I thought was going to be his toughest challenge to date. Eagles defense don't scare me. Bills defense don't scare me. And we were at home against the Bills. This was a quality. It's not great, but it's a quality Seattle defense. And it's a really hostile environment. And Sam went out and Sam went 29 of 44 for 312, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and was only sacked 3 times. Again, that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. And that's how I'm gonna be rolling the rest of the season. So, another tough loss. You dropped to 4-6. You missed a golden opportunity to get back to 500. I feel like you're chasing a ghost that you'll probably never catch now. That was your last opportunity, realistically. Now, could you beat the Giants next week and then on a short turnaround beat Dallas? Absolutely, and get back to 500 at 6-6. The likelihood is you're going to lose to Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's the likelihood. And the likelihood is this was your last opportunity to get to 500. You'll never have another opportunity to get to 500. Well, I lied. You'll have an opportunity on Thursday. You just won't seize that opportunity against Dallas on Thanksgiving. You should beat the Giants next week. That'll get you within a game of 500 again. Then you'll lose to Dallas, and then you'll follow that up with the loss to the Dolphins, and you'll be 5-8 at that point, and you'll never have a chance to get back to 500. So this, to me, was your last realistic opportunity, and we blew it. We blew it. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on on Command Post Game Live. Another valiant effort, but another game in which we come up short. And that's been a theme for all 4 years of Ron's tenure. We don't know how to win these types of games against those types of teams, right? We can find a way to beat the Patriots. Okay. We can find a way to beat a struggling Packers team last year, or the Colts on the road, struggling Colts team. We don't find ways to beat the Vikings at home last year, or the Giants at home last year, or the Giants in the Meadowlands last year, or the Seahawks this year, or the Eagles either time this year, right? We don't find ways to win against the teams that are good, that have winning records. We find a way to lose those games. So, if there's no other silver lining other than Sam, which to me, that's my guy. He's always gonna be my guy. I'm gonna ride for Sam. If there's no other silver lining, is that if we were to win this game, you were getting closer and closer to a scenario in which Ron and company were back next year. And that's not what we want, ultimately. I don't want to lose, but I also don't want those guys back either. So there's a give and take there. But anyway. Fat American, been a member for 18 months. Right. 2005, man. 2005. Good year. Had potential to be great. Think that was the last time we had a chance to be in the Super Bowl. Even more so than the 2012 team. I don't care. Maybe even, but yeah. Maybe they even, but yeah. I still contend that the last, because the 05 offense stunk. It wasn't good enough. You know, we weren't going to beat anybody like that. You weren't going to win that way. The last realistic shot probably was 2012 with a healthy Robert. I don't think we would have been able to. I still contend we would have beaten Seattle, and I think we could have gone to Atlanta and won. I don't think we would have been able to beat San Francisco. I know we wouldn't have been able to beat San Francisco. Realistically, the last time, and a lot of you, this is before your time as a fan, the last realistic shot we had to go to the Super Bowl was 1999. That was the last shot. In my heart of hearts. But anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. For those of you who care, I'll be back for Jets Raiders breakdown. But I'll see you guys tomorrow for Commanders Nightly News. And another tough loss, man. But you should be used to it by now. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
New